and that's in about 35 shelters. And we are trying to accommodate people as best we can. I think the better part of this is for people to just remember that it's a very difficult situation everywhere, and accommodating people in places that they have never been before. We work all year long to try to train people to get these places up and running, and right now it's working. The problem is transportation to some of these areas, and also just getting the people out of their homes and into them, keeping the places running. Even today, we had 3 service centers open where people can go in to talk about their losses and to try to get some emergency needs met. One of those was taking water in as we were going along. We're hoping we'll have all 3 of those open again. But again, to the shelters, again, there are 35 of them. They range, I mean, just all over in those counties. We want people to please remember not to go out. Just think about not leaving unless they absolutely have to. It's uncomfortable in these places, but just try to get as high as you can. Don't go out at them if you don't have to. If you do have to, let people know beforehand where you're going to be going and what you're going to be doing, so that they're not afraid while you're out and they don't jam the phone lines, because right now, as everybody knows, we're having problems with phones all across Houston. And we want to make sure people take their medicine. Think about putting your stuff in a plastic bag, whatever you need. Just keep it all in one place. Get your medicine together. Make sure you have formula for your children. If you have small children, get them some kind of toy or comfort item before you head out. Make sure you get some dry clothes. Bring your dry socks with you. Get yourself a dry shirt, because by the time you get to where you're going, you may be very wet again. In a shelter, the air conditioning can be running full blast. It can be a gym or a church, and you'll get very cold, and there's no need to add more discomfort to the situation.
Margaret, how many people are you trying to limit per shelter, if you're even trying to do that?
Sheriff, frankly, what we do is try to limit them to what those places can physically hold safely, and we're trying to not turn away anybody that we can possibly accommodate in them. But you have to understand, these places run from some very tiny churches that we can actually put people in, say, a gym, or we'll have a space like a cafeteria area. There are so many different kinds of places that we're utilizing, and places that frankly have never been used before. So it's very hard to determine how many people we're going to allow in, and I would just not really be able to tell you, honestly.
Do you use some people with transportation who could help you out in transferring some of these people to shelters?
Sheriff, the situation that, as I understand it right now, is not so much just transporting people to shelters, it's actually getting people, getting the systems in place to be able to support a shelter and keep it running, because getting food into these things is also very difficult. So what we're working on right now, and there are literally tens of, we must have about 60 people downstairs coordinating all that kind of activity, trying to make sure that we have people bringing in blankets, bringing in cots, that there is electricity available, that there is access to those areas, and also, frankly, that there are sanitation services in them too. So there are so many different issues to be considered as you open them. As a matter of fact, some of the places that we're calling evacuation centers, we're not fully supporting. We're actually helping out with volunteers just to keep the doors open and allow people to keep coming through. But they're not places where we really had a trained cadre to keep the place going in a manner that we would really like to have. But nobody's going to have the manner that they would like to have in Houston right now. They're not having the day they would like to have. They haven't had the week they would like to have. So I think it's important that we all just kind of work together on this and communicate and let each other know these are our needs, and let's figure out a way to do it.
Well, Margaret, we know that it takes money. It takes a lot of money to provide emergency services for this many evacuees. And during the night last night, we told people that donations of money are badly needed by the Red Cross. How's the response been to that?
We are having a wonderful response, but I'll tell you what, we can always use more. And the way to do that is that they will call 1-800-HELP-NOW. It would be, so much appreciated. And if you will hold on just one second, I actually do have some information here about people who have donated, have come forward today. Southwestern Bell Foundation donated $100,000 to our local disaster fund here today to help out things. Shell Oil Foundation, Nuevo Energy, and Equilon has also signed up, each one of them, to donate $50,000. I mean, that's just a really, really wonderful thing that you see businesses coming through to help support the people who work for them. And frankly, those are many of the people who are out of their homes today. So if we're hoping to see more of this, and frankly, we need more of it. I mean, this is a major operation, and there's nothing to say that we're not going to have more things like this.
Well, it's very early in this tropical storm season.
Absolutely. And so the better part of this is, I mean, just keeping up with things, keeping trained, and make sure that people are prepared for emergencies.
Okay,
right.
Thank you, Margaret. Margaret O'Brien Molina with the Red Cross. We'll be checking back with you. Let's go back to Jeff Ealing now in Friendswood. Jeff?
Hey, David Shera, we have not been able to get much farther past where the road is underwater right here, but there are a couple of subdivisions back there, and we are fortunate enough to be joined by a couple of guys who walked about 3.5 miles back there to check on their grandparents to see how they're doing. I'm joined now by Chris Gilbert and Brock Snyder. Chris, tell me what you saw back there. Tell me about the houses in the neighborhoods and what it looks like.
There's a couple houses back there that are pretty much underwater. There was a Suburban that was pretty much, it was over the top of the hood of the truck, and that was about waist deep, I'd have to say. This creek right here is probably the one that's the strongest, the current. Other than that, Mary's Creek, it's getting out of the banks. If it rains anymore, it's going to be over top. So, but it's actually the worst is right here, what you're seeing now. Towards the back, there's people trying to get out towards 45, and they can't find a way out nowhere. So.
And Brock, you went back there to check on your grandparents. Tell us, you know, why you went back there and how they're doing.
It's flooding. I don't know, when Pine Hollow, it's like all the way up and over, and they can't get out much. So.
They're basically isolated, aren't they?
Yeah.
They have nowhere to go, and they couldn't get out if they wanted to. Is that right?
Not at all.
They're like an island where they are in the
Yeah.
apartment complex,
Yeah.
basically. You also said that there were people traveling on the other side of this, coming up and down Clear Creek on the other side, driving, trying to find a way to get over here. Tell us about that.
They're just like going down, and they see the water, and they turn around because they can't get nowhere. It's like pretty deep. So.
Those folks want to get over here, and the folks over here want to get
Yeah, there's like no way to get out. You can't get out through Scarsdale. You can't get out through Dixie Farm. It's all underwater, so.
Did you expect to see the kind of flooding you saw when you went back there?
No, I haven't seen this since I was a kid living in Green Tea when it like floods, and
It's pretty deep.
yeah.
What about the folks back there? Did you get a chance to talk to any of the people back there? Are they okay?
No, they're all just pretty...
There's a lot of people back there with boats helping other people out. They brought out their small boats and helping carry stuff. So.
Just the basic, everybody's upset that it happened, but everybody's grateful that everybody's still, you know, okay.
And I was asking you guys before we went on camera here, at any point during your 3.5 mile walk, did you feel threatened or, you know, like you were in danger from the river or anything like that?
No,
the current?
our feet hurt.
Just right here at the current, that's about the worst part of that.
Yeah.
Feet started
You
hurting
fell in,
and everything.
I fell in. I found the medium. I was like, oh, I found the medium.
All right. Thanks, guys. I do appreciate it. That is the situation out here at FM 2351, and we'll, of course, bring you the very latest as situations change. Reporting live, Jeff Ealing, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Petty Officer James Dillard of the U.S. Coast Guard is standing by right now. You've been very patient to wait with us here on the telephone. Petty Officer, can you tell us a little bit about some of the rescues that you folks have been busy doing today?
Well, we've rescued more than 50 people since we started working just after dawn this morning. These rescues have included a 15-year-old pregnant girl, a paraplegic suffering from hypothermia, and I believe we also medevaced one of the burn victims from Pasadena as well. And we've been picking people up off of rooftops, car tops, pretty much anywhere that there's dry land that folks have gotten to, we've been picking them up from.
What's your situation there now, sir?
All four of our Dolphin helicopters and our Jayhawk helicopter are all up performing rescues as we speak.
Will you be limited by nightfall?
I'm not sure what the plans are for once nightfall comes around, but we certainly have the ability to continue through the night with using fresh crews and night vision goggles to work straight through till dawn if we have to.
This is a little bit different than sea duty. Is this something that you folks train for?
Really, the hoisting is pretty much the same. I mean, whether you're over 5 or 6 feet of water where a freeway used to be, or when you're over 500 or 600 feet of water out in the Gulf, the techniques are the same. You just might have a little more hazards from power lines and things like that.
You sound pretty perky for a man who's been up all 24 hours or so.
Well, this is what we train for. You know, we work for this, and we're here to help, you know, the public.
Well, we certainly appreciate your efforts, Petty Officer James Dutter with the U.S. Coast Guard, and keep up the good work, and we'll be checking back with the Coast Guard as the evening wears on. Thank you, sir. Let's go to David Tillman in the Weather Center for the very latest. David, I hope you have good news.
Well, I do. I'll get to the good news in just a moment. I wanted to talk with you guys for just one moment because I've heard a lot of talk from people that they just can't remember a flood quite like the one we're experiencing right now. I was on the webpage of the National Weather Service, and I've got a listing of the top 10 weather disasters ever to affect Southeast Texas. And one of these sounds eerily familiar to what we just experienced. In October of 1994, we had a flood where we had 2 to 3 days of heavy rain producing widespread flooding over the region. Damage to homes, bridges, agriculture was estimated to exceed $900 million. Over 22,000 homes were flooded, and over 10,000 people were displaced from their homes, and 25 counties were declared federal disaster areas. Now, I'm sure you probably remember that particular storm system, and in your estimation, what we've seen over the last 3 days, is it worse than what we had in 94?
Much more.
Yeah, 94 was bad, but
it was isolated areas. It
right.
It was some sections. It wasn't the entire city the way this one
We
has
have
been.
never seen what we saw last night, David, with that tremendous heavy downpour of rain all over the entire Houston metropolitan area, just sitting there continuing to pound hour after hour. That didn't happen in 94. The water came up in this flood so much faster and so much more widespread than it did back in that.
And everywhere simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over that period of time. We did have a few sections that started sooner and you know, came up later, but for the most part, we're used to storms that kind of blow in from the coast, and they flood there, and then they flood where they move, and they flood where they move. And I mean, this one,
everywhere.
It was just everywhere, and it was all happening at once.
I think you can probably say the flood of '01 is going to replace at least one of those items on that top 10 list, David.
Well, I'll tell you
David,
what, strangely enough, that particular event was number 4 on the list.
Well,
so,
I remember when the list, we ran that last night, and I was looking at it thinking that I'm dating myself, but I remember most of those events on that list, and I know that Dave was here for virtually everyone except the 1901, and I think there was one in 1917, perhaps.
Marvin was here for the 1901.
Marvin was here for the 1917, but it's just amazing how many of these have happened from 1960 onward as, of course, the city has grown and we've become more populated, and therefore we've had a lot more people at risk whenever we had a weather emergency.
And this one certainly is. One additional word that we heard earlier today, Southwest Airlines has canceled all of their flights out of Hobby Airport at least until noon tomorrow. I believe that's what they said. If you have a flight on Southwest Airlines, you might want to call the airline and see what their status is now.
And of course, Continental Airlines has been closed all day today, and I believe that is lasting until noon tomorrow or sometime tomorrow afternoon.
Right. Let me ask David Tillman right quick, though. David, what is the radar showing right now, and what are the best forecasters saying at this point?
Well, let's take a look at Live Super Doppler 13, and what it's showing is that most of the heavy rain, which for the last 3 hours or so has been over parts of Galveston and Chambers counties, and that heavy rain is beginning to be transferred into the Gulf of Mexico. That is great news. Now, I'm sure everyone is wondering, well, will this thunderstorm activity develop back over land like it did last night? And my forecast is that it will not for most of the area. It may once again along the coast, but it will not for most of the area. Let me zoom down and let me explain to you the reason for my reasoning for that. Let me put this radar into motion, and so you can see the rotation. Here's these thunderstorms are moving to the north. These are moving to the southwest. So that's telling me that the center of circulation from what was Allison is in this particular area right here, due south of Angleton in the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, along with this, there is a boundary stretching just about like this, right along and just off the coast where the heavy rain has been. North of that boundary, the wind is coming from the northeast, and that air is a bit drier and more dense than the air that's on this side of the boundary that's coming from the south. Now, the dry, dense air, of course, is more dense and heavier than the air to the south here. This air to the south bumps into that, and it stops, basically, and that's where it drops a lot of heavy rain, and that has been what has been going on so far. Now, this low-pressure system is not expected to go in this direction at all. If it were expected to come back on shore, that would move this boundary back on shore, and wherever that boundary sets up, there could be more heavy rain. The forecast for this particular low-pressure system is to drift slowly in a northeasterly direction. That should keep the boundary right along the coast for the next 24 hours, and that's why I believe most of the heavy rain will fall along the coast. Now, there's still enough moisture in the atmosphere north of that, say from Houston northward, to produce some scattered thunderstorm activity for tomorrow, but it will not be that continuous, extremely heavy rain like we saw last night. So I believe that is pretty good news. The other item of interest with that particular low-pressure system is that the forecasters at the Tropical Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center are going to be watching this system over the next 12 to 24 hours because the Gulf water is still very warm, 81 to 82 degrees at this time, more than warm enough that this system could regenerate into a tropical storm. So they'll be watching it for that. If the storm appears to be picking up in intensity overnight, they're going to send a reconnaissance airplane into it tomorrow afternoon to investigate to see if it is becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm again. And if you're wondering, we've answered this several times over the last couple of days, if that should happen, it will be named Allison again. So we'll keep an eye on that. Let's go to our computer right now. Texas radar and satellite combination shows we've had a lot of cloud cover across parts of the area for today. But you can see on that loop how most of the brighter colors with the heavier rain are now beginning to disappear. Here's something that's important. The tide forecast, the lower the tide, the more efficiently the bayous can empty into the Galveston Bay and into the Gulf of Mexico. And you can see the low tide will occur at 1:18 in the morning. That's very significant. If we can get the rain that's along the coast to taper off, that will allow the low tide to act very efficiently at beginning to drain a lot of the water that's in place across the area right now. Now, we are still under a flash flood watch for the rest of the night, but again, National Weather Service and I do believe that most of the heavy rain, if any at all, will fall along the coast tonight and not along those other counties. We will keep an eye on it. We'll keep the weather office staffed overnight, of course, and if it should happen to begin to regenerate, we will let you know. Here's a look at temperatures, middle 70s to middle 80s for temperatures right now. High temperatures over the next several days should begin to rise to the low 90s by the end of the week, and we still have a 60% chance for thunderstorms for tomorrow. Again, the best chance for those will be along the coast. Other areas will see the scattered thunderstorm activity that we're used to seeing this time of year. So I hope that's pretty good news for everybody. And that's a look at your forecast.
With that system moving off to the northeast, it is indeed good news for the Houston area, but if it intensifies, that's rather bad news for the folks around Beaumont, Port Arthur, Lake Charles, in that area, right?
That's right, because Beaumont was hit just as bad, maybe a little worse than some of the areas around here. They had a couple of days where they had 15 inches one day and another 10 inches on top of that, just to the north and west of town especially. And if a lot of heavy rain moves back in, they could be seeing more flooding. So, yeah, good news for us, not too good news for them.
David, one more quick question. We've been saying all along that this low was sort of wedged between a high that was coming out of Missouri and then another one out of the west. What's happening with that high, and if it were to kind of ease off, would that allow that low to just kind of fizzle out?
Well, that is a possibility, and that's the kind of thing that we're going to watch. That high pressure is still in place across parts of Missouri, and it's still giving us that northeast wind flow for today. So we're hoping that does stay in place. Our computer models do suggest that it will stay in place and will keep that low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico. But of course, this time of year, with that being a tropical system, I mean, no one can guarantee that that will happen. So we'll just have to continue to watch the system and hope that it will stay in the Gulf of Mexico, even if it does become tropical storm Allison once again.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David. On the telephone with us, we have Mr. Billy Penn with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration. Mr. Penn, what can you tell us?
Well, the president today did declare the area a major disaster, and FEMA is responding to that. The main thing we're doing right now is trying to help the state and locals back up their support for dealing with the immediate response. We need to get people out of water and make them safe, and we're committing any federal resources that the state or locals might need to assist that.
Does that mean that the feds come in then with some money in order to help set up shelters, in order to provide for the rescue boats and the personnel and all of that in order to get those folks out and safe?
Well, right now the state and locals have been doing, and fire departments, the various ones have been doing an excellent job of taking care of their needs. But we do have those resources available should they need them. We can bring in boats, we can bring in crews. We do have teams of medical doctors and personnel on the way to the Houston area now to help with that situation, and we have a lot of other assets standing by. A little later on, we'll start concentrating on helping people to recover. Right now, we want to respond to the immediate dangers.
Exactly. All right. Thank you, Mr. Penn, Billy Penn with FEMA, and we'll be checking back with you later, too, sir. Thank you.
I have a little bit of information here from UT Health Science Center, if I could give that out right now. The medical school building on Fannin will be closed Sunday and Monday to students, faculty, and staff, and do not report to work. Again, this is UT Health Science Center, the medical school. And then the commencement for the dental branch has been moved from the University of Houston to the sanctuary at Second Baptist Church on Voss at Woodway. Okay, so move from the University of Houston to Second Baptist on Voss at Woodway, and dental branch commencement is now scheduled for 2 p.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. on Sunday at the Second Baptist Church on Voss.
Let's hope everything continues to be high and dry out there as of 2 p.m. tomorrow. On the telephone with us now, we have Jim Strong with the Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management. Jim, how are things going up there?
They're going a lot better, Dave. The water's starting to come down. We're not as perky as that Coast Guard pilot, but we're feeling a lot better about things right now.
Well, that's good news. So things have lightened up in Montgomery County. You still have people in shelters, I assume.
This is true. We still have some shelters open, and also Lake Conroe crested this morning, and the release from the dam is at 8660 cubic feet per second, which is a good release for us compared to 94. So that was our great worry, and unfortunately the Lake Conroe did crest. So that's behind us. There'll be some downstream water, but it could have been worse.
How does this compare with the release in 94? Much less, right?
Yeah, pretty much less, Dave.
What, a third as much, half as much?
You know, I tried to pull those figures up today, and I couldn't find them. I'd stashed them on the website, and I'm still looking for them. But I want to say we were in the mid to high teens, 13, 15, 17,000. And here we're hitting 86.
I see.
How is travel all across your area now?
Sure, it's pretty good. There's still some roads with water over them, like in the east part of the county, 242 over towards Fire Tower Road, between 13, 14, and 59. Some locally heavily street flooding. That's, it's all got to go down, and it'll work its way down into Lake Houston. We're just keeping our fingers crossed. We did an aerial survey today with the DEA people and the DPS people, and Lake Creek was getting up. There were a lot of people that were just kind of locked in, but those houses that were locked in off of Honey Egypt Road weren't flooding, so that was good news.
So cleanup is not going to be quite as massive for you as it is for, say, those folks all along Interstate 10 here closer to town and Federal in that area that we've been showing all day.
No, I've been watching Harris County very closely, and ours is bad, but theirs is a lot worse across the board, it appears, from what we're seeing down there, especially down at the medical center.
All right, we thank you, Jim. Jim Strong, Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management. We hope things continue to get better for you and your folks up there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jim.
We just got word now, Texas Children's Hospital becomes the first Texas Medical Center institution to regain regular power now. Texas Children's been operating on auxiliary power since 2 o'clock this morning. They're thanking the Houston area and media for all their help. They also say they have canceled their Monday clinic appointments and elective surgeries at Texas Children's Hospital. Clinic appointments and elective surgeries for Monday have been canceled, but at least the hospital, the first in the medical center now to regain regular full power. And
that has been a great concern from last night, very early on, when we found out that the medical center access roads were flooded, and then we started hearing about losing power and having to move people and to share hospital facilities. It's been a real fright because we've come to depend upon the medical center so much. And we had talked to the chief of staff at Ben Taub late last night, where they had accepted their last patients, 6 people who'd been injured in a really horrific traffic accident, and then they were having to turn people away. Our Bob Allen earlier today went over to Ben Taub to sort of take the pulse and see how that hospital is operating, and here's his report.
As photographer George Brown and I drove up to the hospital, one of 2 emergency power generators was being put into place. The generators could power maybe 2 or 3 floors only. We made our way to the front of the hospital where emergency supplies were arriving. Water was being carried in. On the lower level of the hospital, 15 to 20 feet of water, completely submerged. A baby grand piano, totally underwater. That's that little piece of black wood you can see there in the water. The staff, they're exhausted. Some have been here close to 24 hours.
I am really very exhausted. Yeah. It just first started with, the hard rain, of course, and then all of a sudden the lights went out, and just everyone running back and forth with lights, and it's crazy.
One of the most critical aspects of this Memorial Hermann, patients are being transported out to other hospitals because there is no power in the hospital. They are in dire need of supplies.
We're ready for two. Okay, as soon as the first two come, whether they're adult or pedi, then we'll direct you to either Memorial Hermann Woodlands or to Memorial Hermann Southeast. We're triaging our critical patients out to our own healthcare system hospitals and our community hospitals, such as Ben Taub and the community hospitals, to help us out. We normally receive patients. We don't normally reverse them out. And we don't have power in there right now, and we don't have air handling. So I think that's what's, kind of like off-striking people. Right now, what we're asking for is that our staff, if they can safely get in, to come in and be prepared with their own belongings to prepare to stay for a 24-hour length of stay, so we can be moving shifts here. The other thing is we are currently working with getting power back up with generators, but right now we really are in need for battery-powered lanterns or flashlights so we can see throughout the hospital.
Okay, that report a little earlier in the day. And on the telephone now with Texas Children's Hospital spokesperson Jeff Jenkins. Jeff, we just gave some fairly good news that the power's back up. What else can you tell us?
Things are going very well here at Texas Children's. We got our regular power back about an hour and a half ago, and we've been operating on auxiliary power basically all day. So we've had uninterrupted patient care today, so everything's going very well here.
But you're completely full, we understand. You've accepted patients from other Texas Medical Center hospitals, so...
Exactly. We got a few patients from St. Luke's and some of the other nearby hospitals. So at the moment, we're not accepting new patients, and really encourage families with ill children needing inpatient medical attention to perhaps try another hospital. We are at capacity at the moment, but everything seems to be going very well here, which...
All right, you've canceled all Monday outpatient appointments and elective surgeries, but you are going to continue the hemodialysis appointments. That people need to know that. If they have hemodialysis appointments, you are going to accept that?
That's correct. Those patients are very delicate and need, very strict medical attention, so we're going to be keeping tabs on them very closely. We're encouraging families that have appointments on Monday to call back starting Tuesday. We'll try to reschedule everything as soon as possible. So we really think everything will be back to normal very early next week.
Do you have all the water pumped out from your low areas, your basements?
We sure have. We've gotten a wonderful response from the community. A lot of people have pitched in to bring diesel-powered pumps, which have been able to pump a lot of that water, below-ground water. So, that allowed us to get our power back. So we're very happy. We've also had a lot of donations for food and water. The community's really come to bat for us, and it's been really wonderful. Houston always really comes through in a tough situation, so we're very pleased and very thankful for Houston and what they've done for Texas Children's.
And your employees, you've been able to make your staff changes today?
We've been pretty close to capacity, but a lot of the roads have been out, but we're well staffed, and our employees here have been just troopers, bringing food to the different floors and feeding employees and just and patients, and they've really done a wonderful job. Very pleased.
That's very good news, Jeff. And thank you for giving us that good news, and we're glad that you got your power back up.
Thank you, and thanks to you and your viewers. You guys have helped out quite a bit, and we really appreciate everything that you've done.
Well, the city in the area is very appreciative of the work that Texas Children's Hospital does and has done for years and years. And the people in Houston always pull together when there is an area disaster such as this, and that's not surprising. Thank you very much, Jeff. We'll check back with you later. Thank you.
Been a lot of curiosity from the people of the Houston area today, as well as they've watched our images on television, I think, all night, and through the morning hours we've seen a lot of onlookers show up. Bob Allen's out at T.C. Jester, is it, Bob, and Interstate 10?
No, actually we're between Washington and Shepherd on I-10, Sheriff. And the good news is, if you can look down there, if you got a shot of it, Buzz, you can see those cars. You can actually see the most of the tires. So it's starting to recede, and recede at a fairly good clip over there. When we got out here, that water was probably about halfway up the doors. So it's starting to come down. Now, what's happening here, we're watching this truck right behind me, if you can get that over there. About an hour and a half ago, that thing buckled, and the roof just popped out of there from the weight. So it could happen again. And there are people along the bayou, along the I-10 here, in canoes, in rafts, having a good time. And actually, it's a pretty sad time because you don't know what shape this freeway is going to be in. Once they do get all these vehicles moved, there are wreckers lined up along here, along the feeder road here, waiting for the water to go down enough so they can start pulling some of these out. Now, they had already pulled one pickup truck out of there about an hour ago, and their wreckers are still waiting, and we're going to keep you updated on exactly what's happening out here. But right now, if it keeps going down at this rate, hopefully sometime tonight they can start pulling some of these vehicles out of here. Reporting live from I-10 between Shepherd and Washington, Bob Allen, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thanks,
Study
Bob.
and contrast now when we start looking eastward towards Liberty County.
Right. We have on the phone with us now Leroy Hannell, the coordinator of the Liberty County Office of Emergency Management. Mr. Hannell, we told the people about the water release from Lake Livingston Dam, but you might tell us that again, if you would.
Yes, Lake Livingston is releasing a tremendous amount of water, at this time. Matter of fact, it's 83,600, per minute. We also did have significant heavy rainfall in the county the last 2 days. Luckily, this afternoon, the county slacked up a little bit, but we're still watching the river real closely.
Well, and unfortunately, as we've been watching all these computer models, there is a little bit of a risk that any storms that develop are kind of shooting up the coast and perhaps may catch you with a little bit more rain. What are you telling people to do right now?
We're telling them just to stand by and, we'll monitor everything. If anything else develops, we will let them know as soon as possible.
Very good.
All right. Now, you have some shelters that are on standby, as we understand. Are they open yet, or you're just waiting to see if you get a response from the folks?
Well, they did go check on everything this afternoon, and a few people came, but they're basically going to be open starting tomorrow.
Okay. You expect those floodwaters to start hitting those low-lying subdivisions about what time? I mean, sometime tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon?
Tomorrow afternoon.
All right.
Unless something changes, unless, if we get some more rains tonight, it depends on just a tremendous amount of things, but if everything goes the way it is, probably tomorrow afternoon.
Well, this statement from your office there says that the release of the levels of water being released from Lake Livingston will flood the low-lying areas along the Trinity River, and you're recommending evacuation of all residences along the low-lying areas of the Trinity River, right?
This is right. This is right, correct.
And tonight wouldn't be too soon to start, but if they have a lot of things to haul out of there and get their possessions and animals and so forth and everything out of harm's way.
You bet you, but, like I said, it depends on rain. If more rain is coming, they need to go ahead and get out of there.
Right. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Oh, I hope not.
Thank you, Mr. Hannell. We appreciate that, and we'll check back with the Office of Emergency Management in Liberty County and hope things stay improving up there as we go through the evening. It is now right at 8 o'clock, and for you hockey fans, I want to remind you that weather permitting, and we've got our fingers crossed, and so far so good, but if this storm does not regenerate and come back into the area, we're going to run the Stanley Cup Final game tonight starting at 11 p.m., and you will see it in its entirety. And we're not going to give you any scores or anything, so it'll be like a brand new game for you.
We hope that you'll just please understand this is such a major catastrophe for this area that we feel it is necessary and important that we continue to give you the weather information.
Something the likes of which has never happened in this area before, at least not in our lifetime. Let's go back to David Tillman now and see how are we looking, David?
Well, so far so good. Since last check especially, the radar continues to dissipate many of the showers and thunderstorms that were over the area earlier today. There's still some heavy rain over parts of the area. We'll get to the radar in just a moment. First, let's check out some tremendous rainfall totals over the last 2 days and over the last 5 days. Look at this list. This is incredible when you consider that the average amount of total rainfall that we typically get in a usual year is about 45 to 50 inches. And Pearland, over the last 5 days, has gotten 21.21 inches. Bush International, 16.46. Greens Bayou, 35.67. Westheimer and Kirby, 33.00 inches in the last 5 days since this Allison has been affecting parts of the area. Incredible amounts there. Hunting Bayou, 32.91. Coward Creek, 25.98. And Clear Creek, 20.04 inches. So in many cases, about 3/4 of the amount that we typically get in a year, we got in about 3 days, 3 to 5 days. So just incredible rainfall totals there. Let's go to live Super Doppler 13, which has been extremely busy for the last several days. You do see a lot of rain, most of it in the Gulf of Mexico. There still remains a few showers right along Galveston Bay and parts of extreme southeast Chambers County. And there remains a flash flood warning in effect for parts of Harris County, Galveston counties, and Chambers counties, and for another hour until about 9 o'clock tonight. And that is basically because of the rain and the flooding that is already occurring, not necessarily for any more rain to come. So this particular line of thunderstorms appears to be sitting in just about the same spot. And what we're going to do is do a lapse here so you can see the movement on it. And you can see that this heavy rain is beginning to transfer itself off the coast. And it looks like the heaviest band is now well out into the Gulf of Mexico. So that is great news. Last check, the center of circulation is due south of Angleton in the northern part of the Gulf of Mexico right there. And it should be tracking in a direction just about like that. Also, we were just talking about this just a few minutes ago. The system could regenerate because it's over the warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico. It could regenerate, and if it shows signs of development overnight, the Tropical Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center will send a reconnaissance flight into the system tomorrow afternoon to check it out. So we'll keep a close eye on that. High tide tonight will occur after 1 o'clock at about 1:16 a.m. and actually 1:18 a.m. and then another high tide will occur by 10:13 in the morning. Let's hope most of the water has drained by that time because you need the low tide to really help you with that. For precautionary purposes, all of southeast Texas is under a flash flood watch overnight. However, I think the greatest risk for any additional flash flooding from any additional rainfall will be over the Gulf Coast counties of Galveston and Chambers County. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s right there. 5-day forecast. We still have a 60% chance of rain in the forecast for tomorrow. Better chances along the coast. And as you get further north and west of here, well, the chances of rain are not all that high at all. For the most part, from Houston northward, a few scattered thunderstorms for tomorrow, but we still need to watch coastal areas, especially if that system does begin to regenerate. That's your forecast.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Dave. The situation is much better at this point than it was at this time last night, and actually is very much better than we had feared it would be tonight. As you know, there was the chance that that thing could regenerate itself and bring in even more heavy downpours, tropical conditions and rain, and driving sheets of rain tonight, but so far that is not happening, and let's hope that that just holds off.
It was that training business, the training storms, the fact that those cells just sat on top of the city. I think the inner city has probably never seen the likes of that. 33 inches, David just told us, Westheimer and Kirby over the past 5 days. And what happens with some of the interstates that come through and some of the major thoroughfares, it becomes almost like a canyon as it comes through the inner city. And this is video that we shot this morning of the Southwest Freeway, folks. You probably recognize that chain of bridges there, those 4 bridges that cross between Kirby and downtown.
That looked like the Southwest Freeway, the Southwest Canal during the day today. That was the state of the floodwaters under those new bridges. When we first got our cameras out at first light this morning, water has gone down considerably since then. But this will give you an idea of the extent of the flooding damage all around the Houston area that caused every major interstate and freeway that we've got to close down at one point or at one time or another. Nothing moving down these freeways unless you were in a boat, and some people were.
Well, and those approaches in towards town from the south, Highway 288 there at McGregor. We could hear Cynthia Cisneros last night trying to describe the scene, and all I could picture was exactly what this is looking like right now. I thought we've just really gone off the charts.
Yep, that may be a shot of part of 288 there. But this flooding is continuing to go down, and with a low tide coming up at 1:18 in the morning, the rainfall runoff will continue to have a place to go, basically into the bayous and the bayous into the bays. And with that low tide coming up at 1:18, that is good news in that the water is not rising in the bay, so that this flood water will have plenty of room to run off.
We know that the mayor surveyed a lot of the city today by air. The governor's coming in tomorrow to do that, but the mayor, after some of his aerial surveys, he held a series of news conferences today, and we've sort of put some of that together, and here's what the mayor had to say.
Told that the president has signed the presidential declaration, and as a result of that, we're now getting assistance from the federal government. That also includes FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, coming in also. We should keep in mind that they'll be doing a lot in coordinating efforts with us locally, but they can also help after the fact for those individuals that do not have insurance or need help in getting loans or some grants. That's where FEMA will be very helpful. We look at our fire department, emergency medical services. Our fire department is still working long hours. They're also trying to bring in some additional resources, but the firefighters has been on the job for a long time, and we'll replace them as rapidly as possible. We look at public works. The integrity of our water system is still intact. The pressure's up. The quality of our water is still good. We do not have any problem in terms of the quality of our water at this point in time. Remember, when people leave home, they leave quickly, expecting to come back quickly. That's not the case, so they do not have much with them. They like to have more blankets for the children, more diapers, things of that nature. If anyone could donate those types of things to the Salvation Army and Red Cross, it certainly would be appreciated. We must also give appreciation and thanks to Houstonians. I witnessed and heard about many acts where Houstonians have come together to help other people during this time of disaster. That's really a characteristic of our city, and I want to really express my thanks to Houstonians for helping others who are suffering during this time. They've done much to be helpful, and that I really appreciate.
Indeed, that has really been more the norm rather than the exception here. We have had a few isolated cases of some looting, and we showed that to you earlier today here on Eyewitness News. But for the most part, we've just had people with hearts of gold, neighbors reaching out and helping neighbors.
Those statements from the mayor a little earlier today, but the situation has continued to improve since then, and our water system, as he said, is still up and running and in good shape. It will take days to recover, weeks to recover from this flooding disaster of 2001, but some important lessons have been learned. God forbid that we should ever have another downpour like this and another horrendous flood like this, but if we do, we will have learned some very important lessons in distribution of emergency services, in handling emergency, the 911 system.
911 system, I think, is the first.
To that. And we'll also learn some important lessons in disbursement of emergency worker personnel, police, fire, ambulance crews, things like that. And
we've also learned our points of vulnerability.
Yes, we have. We certainly have. We've learned that all of these freeways can and will go under several feet of water when we have rainstorms like we had today. Speaking of underwater, much of downtown Houston was underwater, and you know, under the street level in downtown Houston is an extensive system of pedestrian tunnels with shops, restaurants, all kinds of things down in those tunnels. Our Jeff Ealing took a look at what happened down there earlier today. Let's see.
It wasn't pretty.
We're inside the tunnel system around the theater district is where we are. It's knee-deep in water, as you can see. All the planters and benches and tables that were down here in this area, the mall area of the tunnel complex, they're all gone. They've all floated away. The stores, this is the Houston Shoe Hospital. It needs an emergency repair itself. Take a look inside. You've got just things floating around. There are brushes, there's shoe polish. Every bit of merchandise that was on the ground or up to about 3 feet inside the building is now floating, and nobody knows where that is. And the same situation is for the tunnel complex itself. We were told that the water level was even higher, that it created a current, that when that happened, everything that was here just floated off down there, and people don't know where it is right now. Let's kind of come down here and take a look and see what we can see. This is obviously the worst of the situation under the tunnel complex. I was told that to get like this, to get to this situation, Buffalo Bayou came out of its banks, and it flooded a pair of parking lots, and once it got out of the parking lots, well, it had no place else to go but here. Hey, take a look at this. This is a little magic carpet right here. This is one of the mats. Actually, what is this? Find out what that is. Oh, it's a piece of either wall or ceiling tile that has fallen. So obviously it's a dangerous situation down here with things floating around and things floating past us as we walk through the complex. Here's an idea of where we are. The Bank of America Center is just above us. You've got 700 Rusk this way, the Loop Tunnel. Houston Club building is off to our left. You can see there's nobody walking around here. There's nobody moving around here except for us right now because we are at least 2.5 to 3 feet underwater here in this side, this part of the tunnel complex. We've seen other parts of the tunnel complex that just have a little bit of water, but this one by far is the worst of it. And as we continue to come here, this is Starbucks coffee. Starbucks has a bit of a problem as well, as do all the businesses down here. You can see the tops of the tables really is all you can see over here at this point. Lots of stuff floating around, a lot of merchandise that has been lost just in that one store. And really it's the same situation in all the stores across throughout the tunnel system. Let's see what this is. It's another piece of a tabletop, it looks like, that is floating randomly by itself out here in the water, again, about 2.5 to 3 feet deep. You come over here, you can see stuff bobbing around right here in the water. Let's see if we can find out what this is. Got a jar full of diet fuel. That's from the GNC that was underwater. Its doors were open. This is the benches that I was telling you about. These, oh, I'm stepping on stuff. Better watch my step. These are the, I don't want to step on a nail or anything. These are the benches that floated away. The chairs that floated away. A lot of the stuff from the GNC that floated away. Also, the heavy potted plants did as well. This is a dangerous situation too. You have broken glass. See that? The rushing water broke the glass. And that's what people are going to have to deal with when they come down here to clean up. And obviously, this is a situation where it's going to be very dangerous and very difficult, and something that we're going to have to be very careful of as we make our way through here. And obviously, it's going to be quite some time before all this water gets out of here. I'm told that the stores are owned by individuals, and they're responsible for the damage that has happened here. This is obviously a taco stand down here, and it's going to have quite a bit of severe damage, as it will all the businesses down here. So this is a disaster for them here in the tunnel complex.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. That was a look at the downtown Houston pedestrian tunnel complex, and as you can see, it didn't look too good.
As we heard earlier from Reliant, until the water goes down, they can't get in to restore the power to all those downtown buildings. So we're not quite sure yet what the situation is going to be for all those downtown workers. That's Monday morning. I would think that there's a very slim possibility that those buildings will be up and running. They're going to have such a mess.
We've been very fortunate in this situation so far as electrical power is concerned, with only, what did she say, 13,000 customers still out. And you compare this with another major disaster such as a hurricane, and you would have hundreds of thousands of customers that were without power. But we had everything in a hurricane in this storm other than the winds.
Thank goodness.
And torrential rains like that are what come with a hurricane, which will help us be better prepared if and when such a storm, a hurricane, should hit in this area. We've really kind of dodged a bullet, though, so far as electrical power is concerned, and those people that are still out of power, we hope they can be restored by later tonight or tomorrow.
In watching our coverage today, we saw some of the Black Hawk helicopters that were flying over a lot of the worst flooded areas. Tim Gallagher with the Texas Engineering Extension Service is on the phone right now with us, and as I understand it, Mr. Gallagher, the Black Hawks are associated with your group.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, how does an engineering extension service, where's the connection with helicopters, Tim? Can you tell us?
Texas Engineering Extension Service, under the State of Texas Emergency Management Plan, is responsible for search and rescue efforts here in Texas.
I see.
How many Black Hawks did you have flying around today?
From the National Guard, we probably had 6 of them.
Tell us about some of the rescues.
Most of it was evacuations in some of the areas. We inserted some of our crews into areas to help do evacuations from the rising water.
So you stayed busy?
Yes, sir. We've been busy all day.
Are they still up tonight, or what's the situation now?
Well, we're trying to retrieve our crews right now because the military aircraft cannot fly at night, so we're trying to get our crews in back in right now.
You don't have the night vision goggles, night capability?
I'm not sure, sir. They've just told us that they can't fly at night, so we've requested them to retrieve our crews and bring them back into command post.
Now, is there a plan of duty for tomorrow already in place?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
We've requested them to return at 0730 hours, and we'll start this all over again. In the meantime, we're going to be going out doing ground-based rescues in vehicles tonight.
Any problems that you encountered today that you didn't anticipate?
We certainly have some communication problems, not only with the radio, cell phones, landlines. It's been very difficult with the communication.
And this is something that you liaison through the local authorities? Is that part of the difficulty of it all?
Yeah. That's not so much the difficulty. The local authority, of course, requested assistance through the state, and that's when we got the phone call. And we are working very closely with Houston Fire Department in providing service to assist the citizens of Houston right now.
Very good. Tim Gallagher, Texas Engineering Extension Service, the people who have been operating those Black Hawk helicopters all over the area, and everyone in the area is certainly appreciative of your efforts and your crew's efforts, Tim. Thank them all for us.
Thank you.
We're very grateful for all the folks who've stepped forward and come over to our area in order to help out, because this all happened so very quickly.
And we'll be seeing those helicopters up in the air tomorrow, too, I'm sure.
And it's a very comforting sight.
Thank you, Tim. Right now, let's check back in with David Tillman in the Weather Center for the latest. David?
Well, what I'm holding in my hand is a map from the National Center of Environmental Prediction. This is what we call a surface chart. They put these out about every 3 hours. And some meteorologists in Washington, D.C. basically analyze surface features and then put the highs and lows in front on there as they see them. And we typically take a look at these every 3 hours to see what they're thinking in conjunction as to what we're thinking. And what this map has on it, just like I was saying earlier, there's strong high pressure sitting over parts of Illinois and another strong high pressure cell sitting over parts of New Mexico. And that is what's supposed to keep the system from coming back on shore and causing major problems, say, tomorrow or the next day. The system is forecasted to move in a easterly and a northeasterly direction along the coast. That should keep most of the heavy rain either along the coast or off the coast, and that will keep us from getting any more here in Harris County. So let's hope that forecast is right. Here's live Super Doppler 13 radar. Heavy rain continues to push itself away from the coast at this time. We still have a few sprinkles or scattered showers here or there over parts of the area, even inside the city of Houston, but this very light rain will not cause any problems at all, or any additional problems more than what we're seeing right now. Let's zoom into the area that's still producing, that's still getting quite a bit of rain. Most of the rain appears to be now south of Interstate 10 as you head through parts of Texas, and it appears to be moving south of Galveston and Chambers County, except for this one cell right here, which is just to the north and east of the town of Galveston. We can go in just a little closer. Yeah, right near Crystal Beach and in parts of Galveston Bay, we still have a pretty heavy thunderstorm cell, so we'll have to watch that one. We can get a little bit of a movement on it to see how it's moving. Yeah, it appears to be moving in a bit of a westerly direction there. So Crystal Beach, you're seeing some heavy rain at this time. Another little shower around Texas City. And again, most of these showers should remain along the coast. There is a flash flood warning in effect for Galveston County, for Chambers County, and for southern Harris County. That goes until 9 o'clock p.m. And that is basically for all of the heavy rain that is already fallen, not the rain that's falling right now. Here's a look at our computer. And we can go back in about 24 hours at 8 o'clock p.m. You see that band of red right between the T and the O of the word Houston. That was a band of rain that was sitting on the northeast side of town, producing rainfall rates of up to 4 inches of rain per hour. That system basically sat there and just spun, and thunderstorms trained over the same areas for several hours, and that is what produced rainfall rates of up to 25 inches. You can go just a little bit further. That rain began to move to the south and east by 4:15. A lot of rain over Chambers County and Liberty counties. And then this afternoon it began to push into parts of the Gulf of Mexico. And that's basically what we're seeing now. Most of the rain is in the Gulf of Mexico. Here's the 5-day forecast very quickly. 60% chance of rain tomorrow. The best chance is along the coast. The rest of us should see some scattered thunderstorms. And that is if the system behaves as we forecast it to. And that is the state of the Gulf of Mexico.
David, the stuff you showed us down there on Crystal Beach, moving to, it looked like, to the northwest. Any chance of those rain showers coming up into the Houston area?
It doesn't look like it. That particular shower was headed to the west, and it's right along that line that I was talking about earlier, where you have the northeasterly winds and then you have the south winds, so right along that line. So again, the flash flood warnings do remain in effect for those coastal counties. And if any more heavy rain does develop for tonight, that is where we expect it to stay. But we will keep the weather office staffed overnight, of course, as we have had it staffed since the storm hit. And if it does appear to be moving in this direction, we will be the first to let you know.
So with the center of the low down to the southwest of Galveston, that stuff moving over Crystal Beach is in the northeast quadrant and circling around. So it doesn't look like it'll make it up here to the city of Houston.
That's right. And if you remember last night, the center of circulation was to our west.
Exactly.
So that put all of the heavy rain right over us. But now the center of circulation is well to the south. That means the heavy rain will not make it quite this far north.
David, you have a lot of very nervous people here in our viewing area because, you know, it's too frightening. And I also would like to add, stay with us, of course, everyone, but you can also supplement your coverage. You can log on to abc13.com, and we've got the Super Doppler up. We've got our maps. We've got a lot of our pictures, some of our video that we've been shooting throughout this time, lots of emergency shelter information, and certainly we've been hearing from a lot of folks. We had reporters all over the internet world who were giving us very useful information throughout the last 24 hours, and we thank you for that.
And our eyes are glued on that Super Doppler radar display. And if you see anything popping up headed our way, of course, you will be the first ones to know. We want to also remind you, hockey fans, that Stanley Cup Finals will be coming up tonight at 11 o'clock, weather permitting, and so far, the weather is cooperating. The game will air tonight at 11 p.m., and you'll see the Stanley Cup Game 7, the seventh and final and deciding game in this series, starting at 11 o'clock.
Trophy presentation and everything.
Yep.
Okay, water is receding, we know, along Interstate 10. Let's see what Old Highway 90 is looking like. Nydia Hahn is standing by there once again as night starts to fall. Nydia?
Cher, I wish I had that same news for you where we are. Unfortunately, I don't. And about 10 minutes ago, it started to rain again. The rain was coming down pretty hard. It has subsided just in the past couple of minutes. So let's hope it doesn't start back up again. People here are becoming increasingly anxious and concerned for their homes and also for the people who are still trapped in their homes back there. So far, about 2,000 people have been rescued by boat. Fortunately, there are many volunteers out here as well as law enforcement agencies. I know that we rode with the Texas Game Wardens earlier today. There were lots of people out here, but it's just not enough. So for people who do live in this area, if you own a boat, especially if you can float it down to our area, that would be much, much appreciated. I know that you said that much of your home is damaged, well, it's underwater, and that a lot of your belongings are damaged. Give me a picture of what your home looks like and your neighborhood looks like.
Water covered the carpet, and everything's floating around that we couldn't get out. And then he was staying with us, and then he came and helped us, and we got out. We're just glad we got the stuff we needed out.
What do you make of all this? It's really kind of surreal.
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy because just water everywhere, and I think it's the worst it's ever. Yeah, it's pretty much unexpected, and we never expected all this to happen.
We may get more rain. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I think it's just scary and everything because could lose even more.
Did you guys have trouble getting out of your home today?
We did, and then he came and helped us, so we're just glad we're safe and everything.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, we're glad that you're safe, too. Let's go over here and talk to some of the folks that are actually getting off the boat right now. Well, let's talk to you first. I know that you're one of the volunteers here. Tell me why you came.
I'm one of them that got rescued.
Oh, you are? I'm sorry.
I've been down there stuck in my truck for since Friday night.
You've been stuck since Friday night. When were you actually rescued?
This evening, about 2 hours ago.
I bet you were happy to see those folks.
I'm telling you, I love every one of them. They're my heroes.
I'm sure you do. Nice to meet you. Let's go back here and talk to this gentleman in this boat, if we can. Tony, I know you can't come with me, but... Excuse me, sir, what's your name?
Bob Woods.
What does your home look like right now?
Well, I live in a trailer park. It's above water. There's no water in it yet. I live down on John Lawson Road, Redwood Estates.
Are you just preparing and getting some of your belongings out in case it does rain more?
Two son-in-laws there, they take me out to their house. I live on John Lawson.
How long have you lived there?
About 12, 14 years. First time I ever seen it like this.
I think that's true for a lot of people in this area.
Yeah, 13 on the air. I see you on TV all the time.
Well, it's nice to meet you. You've been on Channel 13 now. All right, well, as you can see, folks are continuing to try to help each other, to try to get this situation under control. It looks like that may not happen for a long time to come, but we will continue to stay here so that we can bring you live reports. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Nydia. Good news for that guy who'd been trapped in his truck since last night. Do you
And
know?
he loves every one of his
Don't you know,
rescuers.
he
What
was
a
glad
guy.
to see those people. On the telephone with us now, David Brandon with the San Jacinto County Office of Emergency Management. David, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
How are things in San Jacinto County?
Oh, they're doing a lot better right now since the rain has stopped. Our dam is at 83,600. Anticipate holding it there through the night. And as long as we don't get any more rain and the lake level stabilizes a little bit, it will come out pretty good.
Tell us some of the problems that you've had up there during this storm.
Well, we kind of get a double hit when we have storms like these because the way the county is situated, our Trinity River county line is separated between San Jacinto and Polk County is actually through the center of the lake and through the center of the river. So when we have problems on the lake side, it affects Polk County, and then downstream it affects Polk, San Jacinto, and Liberty County. And on the southwest side, we're bordered by Peach Creek, which y'all have been well aware of what's been going on with that situation.
Yeah, we followed that for a long time last night.
So when they have problems in Conroe and Montgomery County, we get it on the southwest end, and we have problems up north of us in Trinity, Riverside, and up around there, then we catch it on the Trinity River end. So it's been kind of busy up here.
You felt like you had a little bit, maybe more forewarning than some of those folks who were to the north of you?
Yes, we've been activated for several days now, and so we had pretty good forewarning. We watch the weather. We run live weather radar here 24 hours a day, so we had the advantage of actually watching it and tracking it as it was coming through, and we pass on that information to our sheriff's department, work with the other counties in relaying and discussing what our next steps are. So we were prepared for this.
We're showing some video now of a fire that we got on videotape here just a while ago in a wooded area where there's no way for anybody to get any fire equipment in to put that fire out. Have you had any problems like that in San Jacinto County?
No, sir. We've had several fires. We had a car fire and a couple of structure fires. Being we're in a rural community, our equipment status is a little bit different than what it is in the cities. We actually run an amphibious vehicle that has fire equipment on there, so we're able to get back into the national forest and those type regions. And we have a multitude, I say, 3 what they call the double deuces, which y'all are getting in from the National Guard, which is in the county all the time, because most of our calls are in remote and hard to access areas.
Right. Tell me, are you actively evacuating people from low-lying areas along the Trinity River now that all that water is being released from Lake Livingston?
We have an area just below the dam that's called Camilla Twin Harbors. There's around 275 structures in that area. After the 98 flood, we've been going through a FEMA buyout acquisition project down in there. And right now, we've asked for a voluntary evacuation. We're leaving that up to the people. We did declare a local state of disaster several hours ago along with Polk County, so that would enable us to close the river and the lake down to keep people off of it, so nobody would get out there and get stranded or drown. And we've set up an evacuation shelter there at the Camilla First Baptist Church right down the road that's on top of the hill that's outside the floodplain.
Well, of course, a lot of those folks, they've lived there a long time, and they really do know the drill. But then on the other hand, a lot of times that means they get a little bit cantankerous and don't want to evacuate. Isn't that true?
That is very true. Complacency plays a big part in situations like this, and we do have some residents that have lived down there for an extended period of time. We go out and look mainly for the people that are elderly or have special needs situations and offer assistance so we can evacuate them in a predetermined manner before it gets to a point to where we endanger the lives of the rescuers and our fire department personnel to go in and rescue them, and hopefully during daylight hours. As you've seen with the videos earlier with the reptiles and inherent nature's problems, I'll call it, that we see in events like this, we try to do as much as we can during the daylight hours.
Well, you're not out of it yet, and we wish you well. Thank you for joining us once again.
David Brandon, San Jacinto County Office of Emergency Management. We hope things continue to improve for you up there, David. Thank you.
Jessica Willie is standing by right now at Tully Stadium in Spring Branch. Is it, Jessica? Oh, don't tell me it's raining.
It is raining.
Oh,
How
no.
could you tell? Well, I just want to tell you how we're at the state command post for this disaster. I want to tell you how it all comes together. Early this morning, about 10:38, the Houston Fire Department called Spring Branch ISD because Spring Branch basically hasn't had any rain, so they've been lucky. They called them here because they knew that they were on high ground, asked them if they could set this area up as a command post. So to my right, you probably can't see, but they've set up a bunkhouse to my right, and then back here, I don't know if you can see beyond me, there's an empty field back there. That's where the helicopters that have come in from across the state, from Austin and San Antonio, the Blackhawks and the Chinook helicopters, have been landing. Also, we've got some boats here. You can see these boats on the ground here. There's one over there. There's also one to my right, to my photographer's right also. These folks, the people who brought these things in, they come from across the state. This is the state command post again. There's the Houston Fire Department has several other command posts from across the city, but this is specifically for the Houston Fire Department and all the other state agencies who have come in. So let's go inside and take a look inside and talk to Captain Anthony Tortorese. He's kind of in charge of this command post. Captain, he's been patiently waiting for us to speak to him. Tell us just how this is pretty much set up.
This is the command post set up to help coordinate state resources coming in for water rescue and coordination of the air resources from around the Air National Guard coming from San Antonio and Austin and Dallas.
So that's all. But you also have some folks from out of state here too.
We have some folks from out of state on the way here for our medical strike teams on the way to help with some of the medical problems that we're having. They're coming out of, my understanding, coming from Oklahoma City and Alabama.
So this is, tell us about how this works. You dispatch the water rescue folks from here?
What we're coordinating here are the state resources, water rescue resources that are here to help assist the Houston Fire Department in the big extrication and water rescue problem we've got going on.
What's been the area that you've been sending these people to the most?
Mostly on the east side of Houston, over there off of Mesa Road, off Interstate 10, just north of Interstate 10, 610 Loop area. All that's underwater right now.
And these folks also back here, and I wish we could get you a little closer in, but I mean, you have several people in here. They come back here, they debrief, they go back out. They're also working long, hard hours.
Oh yeah, we've been here since early this morning, setting up the command post and sending out water rescue crews to help the Houston Fire Department in the evacuation problems. And we've got groups from San Antonio, Austin EMS, the Austin Fire Department, Fort Worth, Bryan, Strack, Lower Colorado River Authority, Rescue Tech, Cy-Fair, and Wimberley Fire Department. So these resources are coming from all over.
Now, did you call and ask for their help, or are these people who just call up and ask you if you need their help?
These people are part of a regional water response plan that's set up under the emergency response plan for the state of Texas through the Texas Engineering Extension Service up at Texas A&M University. They're here coordinating the assets.
Okay. I do want to ask you one more question, though. We've been showing video of a house burning in the midst of floodwaters. I don't know if you've been able to see that video.
Just a moment of it, yes.
I mean, that must pull at your heart. I mean, that's what you guys are supposed to be doing, yet you can't get to them.
That's true. We can't get our fire trucks into those areas because of the flooded streets, so there's not much that we can do. You know, if you can't get your fire trucks and your personnel up there to help fight those fires, and you know, it's just kind of almost a helpless feeling watching that stuff happen.
Okay. I appreciate it, Captain Tortorese. And again, we're at the state command post here in Spring Branch. Just outside, they set up a bunker unit basically for all the people who are coming in and will need to rest. And folks have been relieved, some been able to change shifts, come in and go back out, and as they help in this effort. This is obviously a huge disaster effort. Folks have offered their help. They've also mobilized a response team. Reporting live from Spring Branch, Jessica Willie, 13 Eyewitness News.
Jessica, could you get a question answered for me? Maybe you can go grab the captain again. When the water starts coming into your home, what should a homeowner do? Obviously, maybe turn off the electricity. Should you shut off the gas, too? I mean, is that one reason why these homes are catching on fire? No one's answered that question for me. If you could find out, I really would appreciate it, because I think it would be helpful to our viewers to know some of the things that they should do if the water starts coming into their homes.
Certainly. Make sure that, you know, if you've got flooding and water coming into the houses, make sure that you do have your natural gas and the utility shop that aren't urgent need. Water in the house with electrical outlets and things like that, and running appliances and things is not a good idea to mess with, so just make sure that you take the necessary precautions for those.
Now, could that have started that fire that we saw earlier?
Could have possibly. It's hard to say. Depends on if there were people there or not. If it was a vacant house, it's highly likely. They'll have to get in and do an investigation to determine what the cause of that fire was.
Sure. And will you actually go in? I mean, it will be several days, I guess, till you can actually go in and look at that house.
Oh, sure. We'll have to send crews by there and investigators by there to take a look at that fire to determine what the cause was.
I appreciate it, Captain Tortoise.
Very good.
Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Jessica.
Good, thanks,
Appreciate
Jessica.
it.
They have a great idea there in San Jacinto County that we heard from David Brandon a few moments ago, in that they have watercraft that are equipped for firefighting. They have firefighting apparatus on boats that they can get to these areas. And here in the Bayou City, we have another flood like that. Maybe some fire boats might be
well, we certainly needed them in the ship
we
channel.
We certainly needed one this afternoon.
And we needed them along the San Jacinto River in floods in years past as well.
There's still a lot of roads, freeways, highways, intersections flooded out, closed. Let's go to the newsroom now, and reporter Teresa Rodriguez, who has information on where you can and where you cannot go. Right, Teresa?
That's right. Well, there is a long list. No real way to touch on all the roads that are closed, but we're going to touch on some of the highlights according to Metro Traffic. We've got a lot of maps to show you, so take note. Here we go. Downtown, the I-45 Pierce Elevated is closed at Dallas. Highway 288 is closed in both directions from I-45 to Highway 59. Now, the loop, as most people know, is a mess. The North Loop is closed at Hirsch, at Lockwood, and at Homestead. The 610 East Loop is closed between Wallaceville and Market. Now, the Beltway. On the north side, it is closed at the 59 East Tex Freeway, and the feeder roads are closed at the I-45 North Freeway. Now, the East Sam Houston Tollway is closed north of Highway 90. Now, there's some more problems in North Houston and Harris County. The I-45 North Freeway is closed in both directions at Main, and the southbound lanes are closed at FM 1960. Now, the southbound lanes of the Hardy Toll Road are closed at the Beltway. The 59 East Tex Freeway's inbound lanes are closed at Kelly, and the feeder lanes are closed from Hopper to Tidwell. Now, on the northwest side, Highway 249 feeder is closed in the Willowbrook area. Now, to the west part of the area, 59 Southwest Freeway is closed between Shepherd and downtown. Now, the Katy Freeway, we've seen a lot of video of that all day today, is closed in both directions between the West Loop and I-45. And you'll find problems along Highway 290 feeder road in various intersections, though you should be able to use the Hempstead Highway as an alternative. Now, to the south side, I-45 Gulf Freeway feeders are closed from Scarsdale to FM 2351, and they're also closed at NASA Road 1 and FM 518. Now, on the east part of town, I-10 Baytown East Freeway is closed from the 59 East Tex Freeway to McCarty, and it is also closed from John Ralston to Uvalde. Now, the East Freeway feeder lanes are closed from Wayside to McCarty. Now, another note for you, Metro has decided to suspend the tolls on all of the toll roads in the area. The Sam Houston Tollway and the Hardy Toll Road are free until further notice. Now, however, all HOV lanes are closed. Let's go over that again. All toll roads are free until further notice, but the HOV lanes are closed, so don't try to take those. There's another problem that we want to pass along to you. Metro has canceled all bus routes today, but it plans to resume its normal schedule tomorrow, weather permitting, of course. So for more information, you can call Metro's hotline on that one. It is 713-635-4000, and those are just some of the highlights of the road closures. Again, we can't cover them all for you, but those are the highlights. Dave Sherrill, back to you.
Okay, thank you. It's kind of hard to get around when all the freeways like that are shut down. This city most emphatically depends on freeways for our movement system. Let's get over to David Tillman now and find out the latest from the Weather Center. David?
Well, we do have just a few widely scattered light rain showers mainly developing across parts of Harris County, but these are really disorganized little showers. They aren't the type that we saw last night with the heavy rain producing system that produced all the rain. Here's a look, a close-up look at Harris County and the city of Houston, and you do see some showers here and there. We've had some reports from right along Interstate 10, so you have some showers there, and some more showers just inside of the east belt out there on the northeast side of town. And then just to the east of Bush, you see there's a shower up there too, up Highway 59. So we do have some widely scattered showers around. These are not the type that are going to produce any aggravation, any more flooding across the area. Let me put it like that. A few more showers here and there to the north of Hempstead. All of these are rotating in a southwesterly direction. Here's another shower that is broken away from this main complex of thunderstorms over the Gulf. It appears to be moving in a westerly direction, and so the part of Galveston County, you might see this, and maybe the extreme southern part of Harris County. This appears to be a rather healthy shower, but this is being produced from what I call an outflow boundary coming away from this particular line, and typically those don't last very long. So we'll keep an eye on these showers. At this time, we don't see any that appear to be the flood-producing type. Our tornado hunter displays of that large area of rain off of the Gulf of Mexico appears to continue pushing away at this time, as we can see on our tornado hunter display. And most of the other showers are basically moving in a southwesterly direction. Now, just in case anything does happen, flash flood-wise, there's a flash flood watch that is in effect for the rest of the evening. It does include all of southeast Texas. Temperatures remain in the 70s at this time for the most part. And here's another quick look at your 5-day forecast. Things will get better over the next 5 days, but we do still need to keep an eye on tomorrow, and we need to keep an eye on the center of circulation in the Gulf of Mexico to see if it does redevelop into something. We'll keep you advised.
Okay, very good. That radar display continues to look very good, a lot better than it was this time last night, although there are some showers that are popping up and maybe some more that pop up, so we'll go back to David every now and then to check that radar and let you know exactly what is happening.
I think people really want to see that radar, and it always is good to be able to show that. Chris Adams has been over at the Texas Medical Center and has just returned with sort of, I guess, the pulse. Have you taken it over there? We know the Texas Children's has its power back. How are the others faring?
Well, a number of the hospitals there are in various stages of returning to normal, but they are not out of the woods yet. Probably the hardest hit would be Memorial Hermann, and let's go to the medical center, show you some pictures of exactly what the situation is like over there. As you drive down the street, in front of many of the hospitals, you'll find big commercial pumps, which are just really putting out thousands and thousands of gallons of water, which had pooled. There's an example of exactly what those streets look like, and as it is very, very difficult to move around that area. Now, again, going back to Memorial Hermann Hospital, again, that's a picture of the basement at Memorial Hermann. You can see chairs and other devices. Much of the hospital's electrical equipment was in that area, and that's why at about 1:40 this morning, power went out in that building. At this point, Memorial Hermann has no power, no drinkable water, and no working telephones. There is a little bit of emergency power in one of the, in part of the emergency department, but really they are pretty much out of business at this point. The hospital has transferred about 200 patients. Some of them have gone to hospitals as far away as Galveston and Austin. So this has really become something of a disaster for the medical center. The hospital officials there do want to alert people that if you are going to have or had scheduled to have elective surgery at Memorial Hermann Hospital, that will not be taking place. They are clearly out of business. Now, there are roughly 200 patients who are still in the hospital, and they are continuing to evacuate those patients to other facilities. But it is a mess over there, and they are definitely struggling with this situation. Reporting live from the newsroom, Chris Adams, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. And to give you an idea how a local disaster such as our flood can truly have a national impact, this dispatch here says an estimated 76,000 ATMs in 22 states are affected by this flooding here in Houston, according to an official of the Pulse Company, a banking official. If you have a Pulse card, that you may be affected here. It says access to ATMs in the Pulse network disrupted when the primary and secondary power supplies were flooded here in Houston. The Pulse has more than 2,000 financial institution members, also an estimated 300,000 point-of-sale transactions using an ATM at a cashier also may be affected by this flood. They're trying to switch operations to a processing center up in Dallas to get them back in operation. And Pulse says they anticipate the majority of the system to be operational by sometime tomorrow. So right now, the flood in Houston has affected and knocked out some 76,000 ATMs in 22 states.
It's going to have to bank the old-fashioned way, and gosh, that's something interesting. Didn't know that we were the primary and secondary power source for all of that. Bob Allen is doing duties today as an eyewitness news reporter. He is still along Interstate 10 where he's been watching the water recede. Bob?
Yeah, and it has receded quite a bit. We are on the outbound side of I-10, Sheriff, between Shepherd and Washington. And you can see it's about halfway down the tires now of the trucks, and you can even see across the way a lot of the retaining wall, which we couldn't see earlier at all. That was completely underwater. When we got out here, if we can show some of the video earlier, when we were out here earlier, how deep it was, and you'll be able to see how much this has gone down. Now there you see it halfway up the cabs of these 18-wheelers. And that was around 4:30, 5 o'clock this afternoon. That was video we shot earlier when we got out here today. And you can see how much it has gone down since. And I talked to a record driver just moments before we went on, and he said that in an hour or two they would start pulling some of these vehicles out here. This whole freeway, this side of the freeway is strewn with 18-wheelers, cars that are just all which ways. Everybody trying to turn around, trying to get out of here last night. It happened around midnight last night is when most of these people got stuck out here, and the water just came up, and the people that were in automobiles started floating. They got out of the car. We talked to several people about it today. There was one family that was on their way from Florida, moving to Georgetown, Texas, and they had all their belongings, important belongings, in their car, and then they're just totally soaked. They're gone. They were supposed to have left for Germany tomorrow to go visit their family. A family from Houston took them in for the night, maybe perhaps tomorrow night until they can get everything straightened out with their car. So people are opening up their hearts quite a bit out here. But the good news is, although it is raining lightly out here, it is starting to recede. We saw just about 5 minutes ago a wrecker go down a little easterly, a little east of this on the other side of Shepherd, and start pulling something out, or making an attempt to pull a vehicle out of here. So it's going down. Exactly when they're going to start pulling the cars and trucks out of here, we don't know, but the record driver told us probably within an hour or two. We will keep an eye on it for you and keep you posted.
All right.
Well, first they got the people, and that was the important thing. We saw a lot of dramatic and really wonderful rescues.
Thank you, Bob. As that water recedes on I-10, they will be indeed working all night long, pulling all those disabled vehicles, cars, trucks, and those huge tractor-trailer trucks out of the way there.
Houston's hometown airline Continental did the prudent thing by suspending operations for this day. Ned Walker with Continental is joining us right now. Ned, the last time I saw you, you were standing there watching the new president be sworn in Washington, D.C.
Yep. Also, so right now what we've done, Sheriff, for our flights today, we've just finished a conference call, and we are going to go ahead and pre-cancel around 80 of our flights tomorrow.
Hear me. Hello, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
We've got a very, very bad phone connection. Can you call us back on another telephone?
That I will do.
Because we do need the information. If you could get in touch with us, get us maybe on a land phone, a phone with a line, maybe then we can hear you a little better. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Ned Walker with Continental Airlines, and our telephone line just wasn't getting us the information that we needed.
And indeed, it's very difficult to get through. If you have a computer at home, you can log on to most of the major airlines, and I know that I tried to call Southwest. I was supposed to fly out this morning, and was just calling to see what to do about that ticket, and I was on hold for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I finally gave up. We would like to get the information out about Continental Airlines, because that certainly is the majority of flights out of here. We know that Southwest also canceled flights today, and Dave, you said tomorrow until when?
Well, I think they said they're going to try to resume flights around noon tomorrow.
Around noon tomorrow.
But if you're holding tickets on Southwest Airlines, you probably should try to call the airline, even though it may be a while before you can get through or get the answers that you need to let you know when and if your flight is going to go as scheduled. We're still looking at scenes from Sky Eye of the tremendous extent of this flood damage all around the Houston metropolitan area today. And so far, we have heard of only 2 deaths associated with this this flood disaster. One was a woman caught in an elevator in downtown Houston when the power failed and the elevator dropped down into the basement, which was filled with water, and the woman drowned. And one other death that the mayor told us about associated with this flood. And with such a widespread disaster, with 2 fatalities so far, we have been very, very fortunate in that area.
Reach Out America. Larry Williams, or Williamson, is joining us now by telephone. Mr. Williamson, I believe you're opening up a shelter. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, Mr. Williamson?
Yes, Reach Out America International is an international relief agency, and we're headquartered here in Houston. We're used to shipping food and clothes and other items out of the country. We're not really used to doing this magnitude of work here in Houston, although we do work with agencies like Star of Hope and Open Door Mission. So right now we have actually opened our facilities. We have a 20,000 square foot building, nice facilities that we're opening as a shelter. We have hundreds and hundreds of blankets, hot food, and any of the shelters that are overflowing, if they need for people to come and pick them up, we will do it. We're receiving a lot of calls. In fact, we received a call from a lady. She said, "I'm looking for my mother." And she called and asked if we could help, and we told her certainly that we would advise of the television stations and radio stations. If, in fact, there are people that are looking for their families and their lost loved ones, if they will simply call Reach Out America at 713-910-3777, then we
Again,
will...
if you would, Mr. Williamson, 713...
910...
910...
3777.
3777, all right.
Then we will get them back together with their families. And we are beginning to do this, but we need the assistance of the television stations, radio stations, and the people who are watching what you're doing, and you're doing such a great job. And then also shelters that are in need. If they will give us a call, we have blankets and food, toiletry items, etc. And we're beginning to take these out to the different areas. We're in touch with the Red Cross, and the Red Cross has told us that they're having problems getting things out into the areas, but we're getting calls from families that are actually marooned in homes or in churches, and they're begging us, can Reach Out America come and bring things to them? And so we have the things here in our warehouse. We have trucks that are loaded. We just need to be able to get them out into the homes, into the churches.
And you have plenty of people manning this phone line so that people who call will be able to get through. We're showing it on the screen right now. Reach Out America International, 713-910-3777. And they will be able to get their phone calls through?
Yes, they will. We have other lines, and we're leaving this particular line open for incoming calls.
All right, Larry Williamson with Reach Out America, who's offering not just space, but also lots of blankets, foods, other supplies for shelters that are in need. And for folks who have lost or have not been able yet to make contact with their loved ones in the Houston area, they will do what they can to locate those people for you and get you together again. The phone number, again, on the screen, 713-910-3777.
And our thanks to Larry Williamson with the Reach Out America for explaining that to us.
Ned Walker, we have reestablished contact with you, have we?
Yes, Ned?
Yes, I hope this is a better line.
Oh, much better. Now we can hear you. Now give us that information, please, sir.
Well, what we have done, today we ended up canceling nearly 1,000 flights, most of them out of the Houston area. And within the last hour, we've looked at tomorrow's schedule, and we've pre-canceled around 80 flights initially for tomorrow. So if travelers are looking to go out to the airport, most of the flights that we've pre-canceled for tomorrow are the inbound flights. So we're going to try to operate the outbound flights out of Houston as closely as possible to the schedule. What I would suggest over the night, we will continually update at www.continental.com the schedule. So if anyone is traveling tomorrow, if they want to access that, remember, they will be able to find out how their flight looks.
What about folks holding tickets who are worried about their money?
That they will get their flight or they will get their money. What we're obviously going to do is work closely with the customers here. We don't want to see anyone inconvenienced. So if somebody does have a ticket that does have a penalty for a change or anything like that, that obviously will be waived. Our main goal here is to try to get the passengers where they want to go. The real challenge for us has been getting our employees out to the airport today.
Right.
We've got 20,000 of them here in the Houston area, and many of them have been challenged like others, whether flooding at home or getting out to their job.
How's the airport physically?
The airport is actually quiet. There are a couple thousand passengers spread throughout the airport. They're very understanding. The latest road report going in there, most of the roads going into the airport are now passable. That was not the case earlier today. We went ahead and for those several hundred passengers out there today have fed them 3 meals and given them pillows and blankets for those few who do have to spend the night there. The hotels around the airport are packed solid, and we're hopeful that beginning around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, we'll be able to get the passengers moving. We have 51 aircraft on the ground now at Intercontinental Airport. We just want to make certain we can get all the crews out there in time to try to operate a fairly normal schedule.
Right. So if you're holding a ticket on Continental Airlines to fly out of Houston tomorrow, chances are you'll make it, right?
Chances are, yes, but we also want to be realistic here. There are some things out of our control, like the weather and some of the roads. I would anticipate that we are going to have some cancellations tomorrow, and I would think as the day progresses, the operation will have a much stronger integrity.
Right.
The morning could be a little bit tougher because some of our employees, our pilots and flight attendants, are still out there, trying to get out of their homes as well.
Okay, and the flights most of the flights that you've canceled, I think you said, are inbound flights, right?
Yeah, in the morning, really, this is a jigsaw puzzle, and what we really want to try to do is get the outbound flights leaving tomorrow with the passengers who are scheduled to go out tomorrow. And to protect the integrity of the schedule, we actually have to cancel the first wave of inbound flights. But as the day progresses, those flights will start arriving as well.
Okay.
Then did you have a lot of people who came in yesterday who suddenly found that they could not get out of the airport, period?
Absolutely. We had people on the ground that got off. This thing hit so rapidly last night. We actually had 73 aircraft that had to divert that were headed for Houston, and they were diverted to Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin, and many other cities around the region. Those airplanes that were already on the ground, there was no way they could leave, and so we ended up, with 2,000 to 3,000 customers at the airport last night. All of them taking it in stride. I think they just looked out the window and saw what a challenge everyone was having.
Did you set up cots for the ones who, the overflow that didn't make it to the hotels?
We were able to do that for some cases. We had people sleeping on airplanes and did as much as we could. Our catering facility, Chelsea Catering, did a great job. They came over this morning and supplied some hot coffee and beverages, as well as some breakfast food for the passengers there. And they've been very understanding, and also the employees. We've had some employees out there working at the gate and the ticket counters for 24 hours straight, trying to accommodate as many people as we can.
Okay,
right.
Ned Walker with Continental Airlines, we thank you. We wish you well.
And
my pleasure.
Hope the situation continues to improve. Thank you, sir.
I have a mental image of folks sleeping on airplanes.
Well, maybe you can do that
Maybe
when
they
it's
can
on the
do
ground.
it.
I never was able to sleep when it's up in the air, but maybe on the ground. I want to get this message out from the State District Courts in Harris County. It says that jury calls for June 11th and 12th, which is Monday and Tuesday, jury calls for June 11th and 12th have been canceled. Persons summoned for jury duty in Harris County State District Courts Monday or Tuesday need not report. There's no need to reschedule. Jury service requirements will be considered satisfied. So it is an ill wind that blows no good. All you that were thinking you were going to have to go down and serve jury duty Monday and Tuesday, you don't have to do that.
Forget about it for now.
Also, this is going to be a boon to carpet manufacturers. Can you imagine the millions of dollars in carpets is going to have
Floor
to...
cleaners. I mean, they were already out in my neighborhood this morning.
Yeah.
David Tillman standing by once more. Continental Airlines very ambitious, only canceling inbound flights tomorrow if they can help it. Has the weather going to cooperate at all, do you think, David?
I believe it will, but we have seen a few showers intensify on Live Super Doppler 13. We'll get to some rain totals in just a moment. Right now, let's go to Live Super Doppler, and you do see a band of basically light showers that are beginning to develop over parts of the area that you see through parts of Harris County, Liberty County, then on to the east, and then on to the western parts of Fort Bend County. These are light showers. These are not the type of showers that will aggravate the flooding situation that we have in place right now. So even though you might be standing outside and there's some raindrops falling on you, I would not let this particular activity bother you. Now, a little bit further to the south and east, there's a more substantial band of rain that appears to be falling over Galveston Bay at this time. It is moving to the west. We will need to keep an eye on it because it is producing some rather heavy rain at this time, but it's mainly over Galveston Bay. Let me share with you one more thing. the low-pressure system is still located in the northern Gulf of Mexico in this direction right here. Now, we've noticed from our surface analysis that there's a trough of low pressure extending right along the Gulf like this, trough of low pressure. These low-pressure centers typically follow these troughs of low pressure, and if that's the case this particular time, this low pressure will head in a northeasterly direction. Now, if this low pressure does develop into, say, a tropical depression or even a tropical storm sometime overnight or tomorrow and really intensifies, the areas that will most likely see some heavy rain will be basically along the coast. So let me bring this out just a little bit so I can show you and draw for you the areas that will most likely be affected by that. And I think it's the area from Brazoria County right through most of Brazoria County over towards the extreme southern parts of Harris County, right through parts of Galveston County and Chambers County, and then on to the east. This is the most likely area right in here that might see the heavy rain. For those north of that area, even though there's a flash flood watch in effect, I think these light and even moderate showers would not cause any additional major flooding problems, but we will keep an eye on it. Now let's get to some rain totals for you that we've been collecting for the last, this is from the last 4 days, and this is from the Office of Emergency Management, and I believe the lowest number on this particular map is at 14.96 inches, and that's along the north belt there. Highest number I see is 32.09, and that's right along Interstate 10, right along the Interstate 10 corridor. So between about 15 inches and 32 inches of rain has fallen in the last 4 days, all attributed to the remnants of Tropical Storm Allison. Very dangerous storm system that we've had so far. We'll keep an eye on the radar screens. If any of those thunderstorms do begin to intensify, we will let you know.
Yeah, there seems to be considerable more rain on there now than there was a couple of hours ago, right, David?
It's amazing how those little showers are beginning to crop up, but again, those are light showers at this time, and they're not a part of an organized system like they were last night. That was a very organized system that we had. Really heavy rain was falling from those at the rate of 3 to 4 inches an hour. I doubt that rain that you see falling on the radar now is even falling at the rate of 1/3 of an inch an hour. So I do believe that the rain will continue, the water will continue to subside, especially since our low tide will occur at about 1:18 a.m. this morning.
I don't think we'll ever view tropical storms in quite the same manner again. We've usually seen them as either what built up before the hurricane or what was the remnant of the hurricane. We've just never had one that just seemed to do what this one has done.
That's for sure.
It really puts the fear of God into you.
Well, keep an eye on that, David, and let us know if any of those things intensify or if more pop up, because we really do want to know that. On the telephone with us now, Patty Muck with Metro. The buses aren't running, are they, Patty?
No, today was the first day in 22 years that we have had to cancel our morning pullout, and we did not have service all day Saturday, but we will be out in the morning.
Well, with your full schedule, or are you going to be running a half schedule, partial schedule? How will that be?
Well, sure, on Sunday we have about 1/3 of the service that we have on a normal weekday. We have no commuter or park and ride service, but we will have our regular Sunday service, and we are offering free fares tomorrow. People have been very inconvenienced. We hope they don't have to go out and about, but if they do, they will be able to ride our buses for free tomorrow morning.
All right, and
tomorrow all day.
How about Monday and through the work week or into the work week?
Well, we're going to have to take Monday a step at a time. I think returning to normal is a little ways away for all of us. We do not know yet. We're going to assess the situation tomorrow, take it minute by minute, and see what's going to happen with the weather.
Okay. All right, Patty, I have this is sort of a looking even further down the line, but you know, with road construction and streets torn up so much already downtown, and now as we have to go into all this repairs to the infrastructure down there, it's going to be quite a challenge, isn't it?
It will be, but you know, we've met challenges before, and we're doing it as we speak. We have a lot of contingency plans, detours. Our bus operators are experienced on these streets, and we're just going to have to use a little bit of patience and ask for patience from our riders for the next several weeks, I suppose.
Is there a quick, easy way for people to check their own particular route?
Yes, it's real easy. You can get on our website, which is a quick and easy website. It's www.ridemetro.org. You can click under the passenger routes and information, and you can click on your route and find your hours and so forth. You also can call our Metro line. It's a 24-hour line, 713-635-4000.
Okay.
713-635-4000.
Right.
All right.
Very
Patty
good.
Muck with Metro. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you. And I want to remind our fans, our hockey fans, the final game of the Stanley Cup Finals will get underway here on Channel 13 a little less than 2 hours from now at 11 o'clock tonight. That is, weather permitting. If these storms don't pop back up again, you'll see Stanley Cup Game 7 beginning at 11 p.m. tonight right here on Channel 13.
Robert Hurst with the Houston Police Department is standing by on the telephone right now. What can you tell us that has changed over the last 24 hours, Mr. Hurst?
Good evening, Sheriff. Good evening, Dave.
Good evening.
First of all, we do have some fatalities to confirm, as Mayor Brown and Chief Bradford discussed at the briefing at TransStar this afternoon. There is a confirmed fatality, a drowning that occurred at 700 Louisiana Street at about 11 o'clock this morning is when the body was found, a 42-year-old woman who tragically drowned in an elevator that went down into a parking garage or parking basement at that facility when the elevator filled up with water on the third of the 4 levels there as she was trying to go down to her vehicle. The other confirmed fatality is on the North Freeway at Quitman. A male who was found floating in the bayou there at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. We do have other deaths that are under investigation at this time. The first one that I can give you is going to be at 1300 East Cross Timbers. There was a male that was found at that location, a drowning victim. Also 7200 Shady Villa. That was at about 9:45 this morning. Another drowning victim. I do not have any identifying information on that drowning victim. Also on North Street at Mainford, another male drowning victim. Also 2700 West Little York, a female drowning victim. And Wrightwood at Mofford at about 12:30 this morning, a 20-year-old male drowning victim at that location. Again, those last 5 that I gave you are still under investigation, but the other 2, the one at 700 Louisiana and the one on the North Freeway at Quitman, are the 2 that were mentioned by the mayor and the chief at the news briefing at TransStar this afternoon.
Officer Hurst, are these associated with vehicles being trapped in the water? Do you know?
Sheriff, let me tell you, I'm not an officer, so I want to make sure that's clear.
All right.
These are under investigation, so at this point it would be difficult to say whether they were people that were in vehicles that became trapped in high water, or whether they were people that were just out sightseeing, or people that were out walking because their vehicles had gotten trapped and they were trying to make it to some other shelter. At this point, it would be difficult to say. I wouldn't want to hazard a guess as to how these drownings occurred. Again, they are all under investigation.
Right.
Okay.
And if they are confirmed to be from this storm, then that would make a total of 7 storm-related deaths.
Correct, sir.
All right.
Robert Hurst with the Houston Police Department.
Thank you, sir. Let's go back out to Bob Allen out there on Interstate 10, inside the loop. Bob, how's it looking now?
All right, David, we're got some good news. We got some wreckers out here pulling out cars. We saw one come out. You can see the flashing lights, so they're starting to remove the vehicles. You can see more and more pavement out here. I see 5 wreckers right now as we stand. They just got out here probably about 3 or 4 minutes ago. One of them, and I don't know, you're on it right now, Buzz. He's pulling out the tractor part of an 18-wheeler. And there are automobiles over on the other side, and there were other wreckers trying to get into position to pull out some of these other cars, trying to get around here. Now, if you swing back this way, Buzz, and show this right behind me, where these trucks are blocking the path. They're blocking the entire freeway. Scoot back, guys. Just a second. Thank you. Blocking the entire freeway. They're just blocking the passage of some of the wreckers to get through. So we'll move right over here. Hi, guys. See, that's how you get them out of the picture. And so that's going to be an impediment until they can get a wrecker around there to move some of those big trucks. So, but the good news is they're starting to move the vehicles here. The water is receding. The rain has pretty much come to a stop out here. It's non-existent right now. And we're seeing more and more of the freeway. We see about half the pavement of the freeway, which we didn't before, and all of the retaining walls, and you see the action with the wreckers down there. So things are getting better, and hopefully they'll get some of these moved. How long it will take to get all of them moved, we don't know, but there are certainly enough wreckers on hand. We can see that wrecker is pulling around where he is going to go get a car. He's obviously going to go get a car because that wrecker is too small to pull out one of the trucks. But it's good news. It's good news. Things are starting to come back to normal. What they're going to do down here, where this bottleneck is, where these 3 trucks are kind of boxed each other out.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen. But anyway,
Bob, do you know
moving.
some of the truckers, are they still out there? The truck drivers who had to abandon those rigs, are they still there?
In fact, when we were sitting in our truck just a minute ago, a grandson of a young man whose grandfather belongs to this Moody Blues truck that you're looking there right now, asked how he could get a hold of a record driver because he was trying to get his grandfather's truck out of there.
Yep.
And it's just about passable here. It's down below half the wheel mark, so they can get through there, and it's just going to be a mess untangling all those trucks.
It is indeed. I know certainly through some of our live reports earlier today, we saw some truckers who were trying to take naps on the side of the freeway there. They'd been in place for 36 hours or more, and I would imagine most of them have cleared out by now.
Yeah, they're exhausted. We did talk to one trucker from Phoenix, and about 4:30 this morning, someone finally found him a motel room because a lot of the motel rooms along this area were booked. He had to go on the other side of 610 and find someplace near the Galleria to sleep, but he did get some sleep, so it's been a mess.
Well, you're going to see a lot of work begin right behind you down there in that canyon of Interstate 10 here in a few minutes. They're going to be pulling those things out of there fast and furiously, I would assume.
I hope so, and as soon as we get some of these trucks moved down here, we'll come right back to you.
Have you seen any heavy-duty wreckers show up to move the big 18-wheelers?
No, not yet. The most we've seen is that one down there that you're looking at right now, and all it has is the tractor part of the tractor trailer. They haven't moved both the tractor and the trailer of the 18-wheelers yet. And if you'll notice this one down here, Buzz, go to the one that's buckled right there. That's going to be very difficult. That thing snapped about 5:30, and you thought it was going to just tump over completely, and the roof just popped out, and it buckled. So it's going to be interesting to see how they get that out of there.
You know, Bob, we just saw the kids, and, you know, I think every time we listen to you live here, we always hear in the background, and it sounds almost like a party atmosphere down there, but I guess it's really, this is such an unusual sight for anybody that it's sort of like a magnet. It just draws people to want to come take a look at this thing.
Well, it is. You never see anything like this in Houston. It's a Saturday night. There are a lot of curious people looking to see, driving by. Some people not too wisely riding their bicycles in the water down there. But, yeah, and earlier it was people were riding their bicycles into the water, diving into the water. It was almost a lot of whooping and hollering, and it was almost a festive atmosphere out here, and it really shouldn't be because there's a lot of destruction, but I guess that's human nature.
Yeah. Okay, Bob, thank you very much. I don't know if you heard earlier, we were talking to Robert Hurst with the Houston Police Department, and we have 2 confirmed drowning deaths as a result of our catastrophe here, and they are now investigating 5 more, what they suspect are drowning deaths associated with this storm.
Yes.
It's a very sad thing.
Let's hope there are no more. Let's hope that's all that they uncover. You're watching continuing coverage of the aftermath of Tropical Storm Allison, the great flood of '01. And let's go back to Tillman, David Tillman now for the latest. David?
Yes, we have a new warning that has been issued for that thunderstorm activity that we saw developing right over Galveston Bay, and it's pushing to the west and northwest. I've drawn in the outlines of the counties here while I read this warning to you. Flash flood warning in effect until 12 o'clock a.m. for Galveston County and for Harris County, but it's really for just a small portion of Harris County. This is Harris County right here. This is Chambers County right here. This is Galveston County right here. And here is the batch of shower activity that they're concerned about at this time. Of course, all of the ground all across the area is saturated, and any more heavy rain will cause problems. And this is a band of moderate to heavy rain, which is crossing Galveston Bay at this time, and it appears to be moving in a west-northwesterly direction. If it holds together and continues to produce heavy rain, there could be some additional flash flooding occurring across a good part of Galveston County and the extreme southeastern parts of Harris County. Let me zoom in just a little bit further to those particular areas and lay down some city names as well. There they are right there, some city names already on the map. Clear Lake, Seabrook, Kemah, Backcliff, League City, and Webster. Looks like you're in the path of this particular line of thunderstorms. It's moving to the west, and we can come out just a little bit and let me loop it once again for you so you can really see. There it is, coming right in there. So again, in Seabrook, in the Seabrook area, that appears to be where the particular line of thunderstorms is headed. And again, there could be some flash flooding from it. So again, flash flood warning in effect for Galveston County and a very small part of southeastern Harris County until 12 o'clock a.m. We will keep an eye on it.
That's rather bad news for the folks down in San Leon, Freeport, Seabrook, the NASA area, Friendswood, and around that area. Let's hope that storm does lose its intensity before it reaches landfall and dumps any more water on them, because they sure don't need it down there.
Well, we know about Sims Bayou and Clear Creek that are both in that area there, and they have a long history of flooding, and we certainly saw Sims Bayou come up very quickly on Tuesday, and then Clear Creek kind of took off overnight last night, and now has hit the danger zone there, and we've been talking to several of our reporters out in the field, and they've been showing us some of the flooded homes and entire subdivisions back over there in that Friendswood area and how bad it is.
Well, we will certainly keep an eye on those, on that rain shower that is over Galveston Bay right now. If it would just stay over the bay, it sure would be nice, but it doesn't look like it's going to. It's moving in a northwesterly direction, and that's why the flash flood warning has been issued for that area down there around Seabrook, San Leon, even up to LaPorte, the NASA area, League City, Friendswood, all of those areas in there. We certainly don't need any more rainfall in that area, but you may be getting it here within the next hour, 2 hours. We're not sure. We'll keep an eye on it for you there.
Do we have Dr. John Kirkwood on the phone now, Bayside Urgent Care?
Yes, ma'am, you do.
Dr. Kirkwood, tell us what's going on where you are and what you need to get out to our listeners right now.
Well, we just wanted to notify the public, you know, that we're located at 4001 Preston on the corner of Fairmont and Preston, and I've discussed with the emergency room here at Bayshore. I know that they're inundated. We've also talked to the Red Cross as well as the Pasadena Police Dispatcher, and we've notified them that we can certainly assist and take care of any non-life-threatening urgent care type of injuries and illnesses. We know that people are having to wait long hours, and we've notified them that we're here to provide any assistance, and we'll be here, like I said, till midnight, as well as tomorrow from 9 a.m. till midnight.
And you're not having any trouble getting any of your workers into where you are?
No, ma'am, not at all.
Have you had a lot of people diverted to you?
Not a lot, but we've just had a kind of a steady stream of people. We've had those who are pulling up carpet, stepping on nails, and like I said, those who have broken bottles have had some lacerations and things of that kind, and some back strains to come on in and be evaluated.
Any snake bites yet?
No, not yet.
Well, good.
You don't have any.
Me too.
All right. Well, we know that we had some of our reporters out in the floodwaters last night, and they were in areas where they had to worry a little bit about alligators, but, you know, water moccasins and other poisonous snakes are always a concern as well.
We hope we don't see any of those tonight.
We do, too. Thank you, Dr. John Kirkwood with the Bayside Urgent Care in Pasadena, and thank you for that information on the hospital services available over there. Our reporter Chris Adams standing by in the newsroom with a little more information, I think, about the Texas Medical Center, right, Chris?
Oh, he's not quite ready yet, I believe, but we did get a message earlier on in our coverage here that Texas Children's Hospital has its power back on, but all of the beds there are completely full, and so folks who have maybe not such dire emergencies, but some need for medical care, they are advised to try to find other hospitals. So I think it was very good that we had Dr. John Kirkwood on Bayside Urgent Care. Folks down in that area certainly could use that as an alternative. I think Chris is ready now. Let's go to you, Chris.
Well, that's correct. I was just over at the medical center perhaps roughly about an hour ago. As you drive down the streets of the medical center, it's almost like a series of fountains, unfortunately. There are huge commercial pumping trucks which are trying to transfer thousands and thousands of gallons of water from many of the low-lying areas. Now, unfortunately for some of the hospital, hospitals, their generating equipment or many of their switching boxes are located on the lower floors or even in the basement. And that has created an enormous problem because all of that equipment is just sort of short-circuited out. That's what took the power out and away from Hermann Hospital, and that's Memorial Hermann, and that's what their basement looks like right there. There's actually an information desk right underneath that sign. Obviously, you can't see it. So those stairs lead downstairs. Now, what that has done for Memorial Hermann, at least, is that has thrown that hospital into darkness. They have no electric power, no working telephones, and no drinkable water. So that's a situation there. They have begun transferring their patients out of that hospital. Roughly 200 patients have been transferred. There are another 200 patients who are still there. One of the things that the entire medical community has begun to do is to sort of share resources. And what I mean by that is that in addition to taking patients, many of them have also started to sort of combine their staffs or to combine their schedules in such a way to make sure that they staff at the best possible level. So that's sort of the struggle that's going on right now in the medical center, and that area really is crippled. As one medical administrator said, it's a disaster. Reporting live from the newsroom, Chris Adams, 13 Eyewitness News.
Chris, hang on a minute, if you would, because there are a couple of things questions that come to my mind anyway. While you were down there, I know that they make all kinds of disaster plans. But this one, I'm not sure anyone could have envisioned. Are you not just a little bit impressed that they've been able to sort of think on their feet and shift and make necessary moves as they arise?
Well, I think the idea of thinking on their feet is indeed an excellent way of putting it. What they've basically had to do is to shift and adjust, and it appears as though they've sort of got a handle on it at this point. But this is an enormous problem. Imagine taking, at one hospital, Memorial Hermann, imagine taking 200 patients, people who are ill, attached to IVs, who have serious medical conditions, are possibly in need of urgent surgeries, and finding some place to put them and then transporting them. They've actually called in military, Texas National Guard, I believe, helicopters, Blackhawks, to transport some of these people. Those vehicles were not designed for that sort of a job necessarily, but they've just sort of had to have been called into service. And so it really is sort of catch as catch can. Right. I do get a general sense, however, that they are beginning to get a handle on this situation, although there is still much that remains to be done.
I think it's going to be a very interesting next couple of months, maybe even just next couple of weeks, as all of the planners and the administrators suddenly have to head huddle, not just there at the medical center, but throughout the city of Houston, Harris County, and almost every facet of this population. People now knowing what can happen and trying to devise ways so that it can go even more smoothly next time.
Exactly. There is one other point I'd like to mention to anyone who's out there. If, for example, in the next couple of days you were scheduled for elective surgery, you were going to come in and have, say, some sort of operation that can be delayed, it is well worth checking with the hospital. Most of those, at least at some of the hospitals, most of those elective surgeries have been canceled. At this point, they are really trying to handle the emergencies.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. We have a statement from Harris County Tax Assessor Collector Paul Betancourt, which says that they're estimating that 5,000 homes in Harris County have flooded. They say they agree with the industry estimate looking at around $110 million in damages to structures and personal property. This is an upgraded guesstimate between the chief appraiser, Jim Robinson, and the county tax assessor collector, Paul Betancourt. And they state clearly this is an epic event in Harris County history. They hope to have an updated estimate sometime tomorrow based on water tables being collected tonight by the Harris County Office of Emergency Management. And they say the downtown tax office will not be available on Monday, but all branch offices will be open with the possible exception of Cypress Wood and Pasadena locations due to high water. So the guesstimate now, over some 5,000 homes in Harris County flooded, and we're looking at around $110 million in damage.
And that's just the beginning of that counter. Certainly it's going to go higher, and of course we've got FEMA in place. Right now they're concentrating on trying to rescue folks, and then they'll take the next step from there. But we do know that we've got the disaster declaration from the president today, and help is there, and the final tally is probably going to boggle all of our minds.
Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Ealing was down in the Friendswood area, and he's joining us now. Jeff, have you moved?
I sure have, Dave and Sharon. We are actually at the seawall on 25th here on Galveston Island. I can tell you that the whole time we've been here, it has been raining, mostly off and on, but right now it's just a very light rain. But when we pulled on to the island about 45 minutes ago or so, it was raining pretty good, really throughout the city of Galveston. I can tell you that the area of low pressure that's causing the concern for tomorrow is just really right off the coast. And the National Hurricane Center is going to fly over that area tomorrow to make sure that that doesn't develop into a storm on its own. And, you know, if it does, it's been projected that that will hit Galveston Island again, and certainly Galveston County, and points east up here. At least that's what they are thinking. If that happens, obviously, that is a great cause of concern for the folks who live here in Galveston County and Galveston Island. We are going to have the mayor come down and talk to us in a few minutes to see what the situation has been like here over the last day or so. But I can tell you that at this point here in the city of Galveston, at least, there isn't any flooding to talk about at this point. But again, with the situation with the storm, you just never know what's going to happen with this thing. It's kind of defied all logic at this point. But it can kind of show you the streets of Galveston. People are actually driving around. We've seen some folks stop by and talk to us just briefly to tell us that you know, they're getting by quite well right now. Of course, everybody is keeping an eye on the radar. Everybody is keeping an eye on the sky. Everybody wants to know exactly what the situation with the storm is going to be and what it's going to mean for them here. But at this point here on Galveston Island, we just have some rain, but no flooding, thankfully, to talk about at this point. As I said, the mayor should be here in about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll get a better update from him as to what we're going to expect to see in the next day or so and what has happened over the last 24 hours here on Galveston Island. Reporting live, Jeff Ealing, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, and we'll find out what the mayor has to say in a few moments. Nicole Rubin with Methodist Hospital is on the line. Ms. Rubin, what do you have to tell us?
Hi. At Methodist Hospital, we're continuing to operate under our disaster plans, which are working. And we still are operating with emergency power. So the basements are still flooded, and we're still trying to get the water pumped out of the basement so we can restore normal power again. But we're not exactly sure when that will happen. So for now, we're not planning to have any surgeries on Monday, and our ER is closed until, you know, further notice.
And you've transferred patients today?
We actually have not had to transfer any patients out of Methodist at all. Everything seems to be doing pretty well. We've moved patients from one building which lost some power to other buildings which had power. But we haven't had to move any patients, transfer them out of Methodist.
Do you have a lot of physical damage to your public areas of the hospital?
Not to the public areas. It's more in the basement, so it's more in the food preparation areas are completely ruined, and the pharmacy is completely ruined. So they tend to be a lot of the support departments, which are in the basement. We have an MRI that was ruined, but none of the public areas.
How are you feeding the patients?
Well, you know, this has been an incredible thing where a lot of community support. So I think like 600 box lunches were brought in today, and all the patients have been fed. American Red Cross is planning to provide food tomorrow for all the patients and staff, so it's been really extraordinary.
So you're having to prepare all the food off-site and bring it into the patients now?
That's what we've been doing. We don't have any food on site.
Are you pumping that water out of the basement?
We're working on it. We have at least 10 pumps going right now, but it's been very slow.
Are these diesel-powered so that you can...
Yes, they are.
Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want our employees who can report to work tomorrow to please show up. We'll use all the help we can get.
I can understand that. Thank you. Nicole Rubin, spokesperson for Methodist Hospital. Anybody who works for Methodist, if you can show up there tomorrow, they would be appreciative. They would need your help. Let's go back over to David Tillman now. Let's look at the radar again, David.
Folks are getting a little uneasy, David.
Yes, and there's a pretty heavy shower headed right for Galveston Island at this time. Let's go to live Super Doppler 13. We have it zoomed into that particular area. We just heard from Jeff Ealing just a moment ago, and he said he was on Galveston Island. Look at this big shower right here, and it is moving in this direction, in a northwesterly direction, right for town. Let me show you a loop of that particular cell, and there it is. You see it moving right for Galveston Island, so in the very short term, probably in the next 15 to 20 minutes, there will be some very heavy rain over that particular area. We can move a little bit further to the north, and there's that cell that we've been watching over parts of Galveston Bay. It appears to be holding together, and it does appear that it will be moving in a northeasterly direction right towards Seabrook and areas around that, including NASA and eventually League City along Interstate 45. So for that reason, the National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning, and that does go right up until midnight for that particular cell over southern parts of Harris County and Galveston County especially. Let's go out a little wider, and since the last time we talked, the rest of these light showers have not intensified. They are raining at the rate of less than a half an inch an hour. So I still believe that these particular showers up here will not aggravate any more flooding problems tonight, so the water should continue to dissipate across the area. But again, our coastal counties, and let me outline those once again, especially from Brazoria County on up to the southern tip of Harris County, maybe even including the South Belt there. There could be some heavy rain there tonight, over towards Chambers and Galveston counties, then on up towards Beaumont. That is the particular area overnight that stands the best chance of seeing more very heavy rain and thunderstorm activity, and with the possibility of additional flash flooding from heavy rain, that is. So we really need to keep an eye on this particular system. Also, the low pressure system that once was Tropical Storm Allison is still sitting in the Gulf of Mexico. Just read a new statement from the Tropical Prediction Center that says that the system does not appear to be strengthening at this time, but they are still keeping an eye on it. Center of circulation is still located in this area just about right there, and it is still projected to move in a northeasterly direction. Now, what we've noted, if you erase what happened yesterday, a couple of days ago, and for 2 nights in a row, this tropical system has been generating a lot of heavy rain from late at night into the early morning hours. If you recall, the morning that thunderstorm developed over Stafford, all of those thunderstorms basically developed right across parts of Harris County at about 3 o'clock and then went until about 7, and they really produced a lot of heavy rain. So that is one concern, even if this system does not become a tropical storm, that as it moves in a northeasterly direction along the coast, all of this rain that you see out here will really begin to intensify and possibly produce some very damaging flash flooding over parts of Brazoria County, possibly into Galveston County and Chambers County. So especially if you live in those particular areas, you do need to be on high alert from the heavy rain coming up for tonight and the possibility of flash flooding. That's the way it looks right now.
Okay, Dave, that system that's over Galveston Bay now does look to be getting bigger and intensifying.
Yeah, we can, let me zoom in a little closer to it on our live Super Doppler and give you another look at it. It is a heavy rain cell. It's producing rain at the rate of close to 1 inch an hour, and it does not appear to be dying. So again, the southern part of Harris County and looks like all of Galveston County will be seeing a very heavy rain shower within the hour. One more thing, let me show you one more thing here, and let me take the laps off so you can get a good look at it. This is the amount of rain that this system has produced within the last hour. So that lets us know and gives us a good forecast of what it's going to do in the future. Right here, just east of Crystal Beach, 1 inch. Right there, 1 inch. In Galveston Bay, right there, 1/2 inch. Trace amounts every place else. So anywhere from 1/2 inch to 1 inch of rain as that band of rain moves across. Notice how the shape of the system is shaped like this, and it's moving in this direction. That is not really training. Now, if it were shaped like this and moving in this direction, that's when you would really have to be worried, because then you would get much more of the storm in that particular way. But we'll keep an eye on it, though.
All right, very good. Yes, do keep an eye on it. And the mayor of Galveston's also keeping an eye on the radar screens down there, and he's with our Jeff Ealing now. Jeff?
Yeah, that's right, Dave. The mayor of Galveston just looked at the radar screen in David Tillman's report. Tell us what you expect from the center of low pressure that's off the coast right now.
Well, we're watching it very closely because we have had reports that it might form up either later on this evening or sometime tomorrow morning. And if it does, if it forms where it is right now, then we're going to have to be real concerned about it here in the city of Galveston.
Because it really is right off the coast, isn't it? It's that low pressure center.
That's exactly right. From what I understand, it's almost due south from us. And as we observed a little bit earlier, the wind is starting to pick up just a little bit, and this is the highest it's been all day. So we're real concerned about it. Looks like there's more showers forming up in the southern Gulf, just south of Galveston, and we're going to have to monitor the system all night long.
You know, this storm's been real fickle for you guys. You opened up your emergency command center, around 9 o'clock this morning. You were expecting anywhere from 5 to 10 inches of rain, and you didn't get it, did you?
Yeah, well, we thought we dodged the bullet, but as what happened in the last couple of days, we're worried about what's going to happen this evening, because as we've seen on radar, it looks like it's starting to spread out again like it did the past 2 evenings, and that's when we got last night like 5 inches of rain. So we're going to watch it real close. What was the concern today? I know there were some street closures and some street flooding. Did you have any buildings that flooded again today or anything like that? Basically, the north side of Broadway was all flooded. Broadway itself was down to 1 lane. There was a lot of street flooding in certain areas of the inner city. So as the day went on, that cleared up, and the streets became more passable, and it cleared out very well. But now it looks like it's starting to come back again. So we've got a skeleton crew at our emergency operating center, and we're going to operate with that crew for the rest of the evening just to monitor what's happening right now. Have you had an opportunity to assess the damage from this storm at this point? What does it look like to the city of Galveston? How many buildings have been affected by this? How many structures have been affected by this? Have you had a chance to do that yet? No, we haven't had a chance to do that yet, but, you know, riding through town, we really believe that damage has been minimal. We feel like we have dodged a bullet. It's not as bad as it is on the mainland. So we really feel fortunate right now, and we really do feel for our neighbors just north of Galveston. And indeed, a sense of holding your breath and waiting to see what's going to happen on in tonight and into tomorrow morning, right? That's exactly right, because if this thing does form again, we'll get the brunt of it. So we're going to have to monitor it all night. As I said again, you know, looks like on radar the showers are starting to expand again, and they're just right off the coast, and I think we'll probably get a pretty good shower within the next hour. We're telling people here to keep an eye on what you guys are saying and what you're doing, and if you're any updates, you'll let them know. Is that right? That's exactly right. That's why we're keeping that skeleton crew at the emergency operating center, just in case we need to reopen it and to answer questions. All right, Mayor, thank you so very much for joining us. I do appreciate it. Thanks for your input. We'll, of course, be here, and if anything develops, we'll help the folks at Galveston find out about it as well. So that is the situation here. Again, this is going to be a...
Jeff,
yes, ma'am,
still let the mayor go. Is he advising people to go or to stay right now?
I'm sorry, Sheriff, could you say that one more time, Mayor?
Is the mayor advising people to go or to stay?
Are you advising anybody to leave low-lying areas at this point? Are you saying that they can stay? What's the situation with that? Well, right now, after speaking with the National Weather Service earlier today, even if the Allison formed again, the tides wouldn't be such that we have to evacuate our west end. So right now, we hope that people just stay put. And we hope that they stay in their homes and just to monitor the system and keep in touch with the media. All right, very good, very good. Thank you very much. Again, this is something that they're going to have to monitor all night because they don't know the nature of this storm, what's going to happen next. So we'll probably be down here for the bulk of the night as well, keeping an eye on the storm as well. Reporting live, Jeff Ealing, back to you.
One more question for you,
sure,
Jeff. I know you want to wrap up.
No problem.
But
go right ahead.
you're the only one I know who's made the drive down the Gulf Freeway, and we gave some road closings earlier, and there were several points along the Gulf Freeway where apparently it's still underwater. How's the drive, and what would you recommend for folks who maybe are making the decision to leave Galveston, and maybe folks who think that maybe it's an easy drive down into Galveston?
Well, the drive down into Galveston is fine. Hermann, Garcia, and I drove down here, like I said, about an hour ago, and we had absolutely no trouble coming to the island. We didn't see any water covering the roads or anything like that on the Gulf Freeway. However, the feeder roads, some of them in patches, were completely impassable, and we noticed that there were subdivisions, especially on the right side of the Gulf Freeway as we were coming south into Galveston County, that did have flooding, and the houses were underwater still at this point. So it really is a situation where you have to depend. It depends on where you're going. If you're coming to the city of Galveston, you really shouldn't have a problem. But if you're going to drop off at one of the subdivisions, maybe 4 or 5 miles from here, chances are you may not be able to get back into those streets. We did see a number of streets flooded, and it didn't really go in any kind of pattern. It seemed very random. We saw a couple of subdivisions that were just a disaster, and then we would drive another 4 or 5 miles down the Gulf Freeway, and things were pretty much high and dry. So it really would depend on where you're going, and the best advice for people we can give is to pay attention to what we're saying on road closures And, you know, that we're giving you the latest up-to-date information that we know. So that's probably the best advice for anyone who has to come this way. And again, if you're going out of Galveston, the same situation, you're going to be fine. Right now, the Gulf Freeway is open as far as, and we came all the way from Houston, so it was open all the way to Houston.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much for that report.
Good evening. We also have Tessa Duffy on the line with the Galveston Emergency Management Office. Tessa, anything you want to add to this?
At this time, we're closely monitoring the situation. We've been in touch with our surrounding counties, and they're also concerned about the rainfall that could potentially impact us. We've got the Coast Guard operating out of our Emergency Management Center, and they've been dispatching rescue efforts all day today up to Houston, Harris County. They will continue to try to support that effort this evening. We've been most concerned at this point up to now with the area around Friendswood, League City up in that area. We've got a lot of support with high water vehicles from the Army National Guard doing some rescue up there, as well as some boats that went up earlier today. Right now we have some equipment on standby for rescue efforts if it's needed throughout the night, should this storm turn into more of a heavy rainfall event for us. And we are having some reports of rain picking up in Texas City and in the Jamaica Beach area, so we're going to watch it real close over the next several hours to see what develops.
Okay, very good. Good luck to you down there in Galveston and on the island. That's Tessa Duffy with the Galveston Office of Emergency Management. And there you can see that radar display. The rain shower that was over Galveston Bay has moved ashore now over San Leon and is headed into the NASA, Seabrook, Friendswood area and League City area. And we just hope that it doesn't intensify anymore and that it will be the rainfall limits of, you know, like a half an inch or so an hour and not any worse than that.
Texas City and Jamaica Beach, as Tessa Duffy just told us, getting hit pretty hard with rain right now.
Let's go back up north to Montgomery County Office of Emergency Management and Jim Strong. Jim, you got something to tell us?
Well, Dave, probably the next 24 hours will be in the response mode, and then probably come Monday we'll get into what we call in the emergency management business the recovery phase, and we'll be putting out information about numbers for FEMA, options that will be available to the citizens for the recovery part of this disaster. And we won't be rolling boats and cars and trucks and people. And we're kind of looking forward to that. It's the most difficult part of the whole thing is getting the paperwork processed. But we're hoping that we've seen the worst of the weather up here and that our colleagues to the east don't get the 10 to 15 inches if possible. But the National Weather Service predictions seem to be right on the money, and it's doing what they said it would do, and hopefully it'll move out and be off the Louisiana coast in 72 hours.
Jim, you're talking like these numbers for FEMA come pretty quickly. Is this entire process faster moving than we might suspect?
Well, what's happened is that the governor did an expedited declaration, and the president turned it around in very quick time. So personally, I'm anticipating we'll have some 800 numbers from FEMA early next week where people can start calling and get information, both people with insurance and people that might want to use the Small Business Association for low or no interest loans.
Okay, and your conditions there in Montgomery County continue to improve tonight, right?
Dave, we got our fingers crossed, and they certainly do. And we want to thank you guys for getting the word out for us, because that really helped us up here.
We got our fingers crossed, too. Well, thank you very much, Jim Strong, Montgomery County Emergency Office of Emergency Management. Rusty Cornelius with Harris County Office of Emergency Management on the phone now. Rusty, how are we doing?
Overall, we're doing very well. At the present time, we still have some evacuations continuing in the upper Cypress Creek area and around the Sheldon area. In the Sheldon area, we have so far evacuated 2,000 people. We have deployed several high water rescue vehicles, both in the north into the county and in the Sheldon area, as well as boats.
How are you doing with shelters? Are they just packed?
The shelters, we have additional capacity. If anyone out there needs shelters, please go to the shelters. We do have the capacity. The American Red Cross, Salvation Army are prepared to open additional shelters as needed. Right now, we're not at capacity, so we still have room.
Well, that's good news. So you do have adequate areas to house any people who are flooded out of their homes or who need a place to stay tonight, right?
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good.
Rusty, have you had any trouble with folks who haven't been able to get hooked up with their loved ones?
Well, I personally have that problem with one of my brothers. He lives in the Upper Cypress Creek area at Grants Road. So I can sympathize with everyone. The phone systems are clogged, the operators are clogged, and just keep trying is all I can say.
Okay, once again, urging patience on everyone and hope for the best and don't worry too much.
That's good advice.
Okay, thank you, Rusty. Rusty Cornelius with the Harris County Office of Emergency Management. Let's go back over to David Tillman. David, I'm still concerned about this thing coming in from Galveston Bay and which way it's headed. What do you got to tell us?
Well, it's not letting up at all. It's still at the same intensity that it was just a little while ago, which means it is still producing some heavy rain, and it is still moving to the northwest, and it's about to come ashore. It's coming ashore as we speak, as a matter of fact. Here's a look at our storm track, and this basically tells us the smaller towns and communities in the path of the storm as well as the larger ones. And you can see it should make it to Toddville at about 9:48 in just about another minute. 9:50 to Kemah, 9:51 to Seabrook, Clear Lake Shores. It should make it to you at 9:53. Glen Cove at 9:57. Lakeside at 9:59. 10 o'clock to Dickinson, Clear Lake at 10:05, and NASA at 10:06. That's when the leading edge of this line of heavy rain should begin in your particular areas. And again, it's raining at the rate of a ½ inch to an inch an hour. So as it passes through it, it's going to take about 30 minutes to an hour to pass through. Very likely to produce at least an inch of rain as it does so. And that is enough with the saturated ground and with the flooding that's already occurred to cause some additional flash flooding. So for that reason, a flash flood warning has been issued for parts of Galveston County and for the extreme southern part of Harris County until midnight. We will keep an eye on it.
All right, but at least we can be grateful that it's moving and moving through and not training on us, as you demonstrated a little bit earlier.
That's right.
And we'll keep going back to David for the latest pictures on that radar. Right now, let's go back to Bob Allen over there on Interstate 10 inside the loop. Got some action going, right, Bob?
That we do, David. In fact, I am on Interstate 10. It is dry, and they're starting to move the trucks. If we can go to the mass cam shot, you can see them lifting the Albertsons truck over the barricade. The truck last night in the water floated up, and then half the trailer was on one side of the retaining wall, half of it was on the other side. How to get it righted? They brought in the heavy-duty wreckers, and they're straightening out the tractor part of it. They've got another wrecker on the other side that's lifting up the trailer part of it over the retaining wall. They're straightening out. They haven't got them out yet, but the freeway is dry. They're starting to move them out, which is good news. They've gotten a lot of cars out of here. We had referred earlier, and I'm out of breath because I just ran down here.
Go ahead, Bob. You're doing great.
It's not easy getting old, I'll tell you. But what they're doing, they're straightening these out. We had wondered how they were going to untangle this mess of trucks. Well, they're doing it now one by one. They had pulled a heavy-duty wrecker, straightening them out, and now they're going to pull them straight out as they get them down one by one. But the good news is I-10, where we are, between Shepherd and Washington, is dry. It's completely drained. I'm standing on it right now. They're moving the trucks. They're starting to move the cars. They'll move a lot of these cars once they get the trucks moved, and they're doing that as we speak. So that's the good news.
Yeah, the bad news is, Bob, that you're there at one section. We've been looking at a jam cam shot for much of the day at TC Jester, where there's a buku bunch of trucks as well. So if this goes on for a mile or so, it's going to be a long night's piece of work.
Yeah.
But it is a beginning, though, Sheriff.
It is indeed. Are most of these trucks still carrying what they were carrying?
Of course.
Yeah.
No way to get it out.
And that was the tough part of it. And they're not only carrying their loads, but they're carrying a lot of water inside the trailer, too. As they straightened one out, we saw one just start dripping water out the back of it. So.
Yeah, what weighed 40,000 pounds when it went in there may weigh 140,000 pounds now that they're trying to haul it out.
Exactly.
Boy, that's some big equipment.
Yeah, a lot of the big wreckers are out here. A lot of the police are out here. A lot of onlookers. But the good news is they're beginning to get things straightened out.
Well, they have to do that. That is a major artery. That is like the lifeblood of the nation almost, Interstate 10. And you can't afford to have that bottleneck as it comes through Houston.
From the Atlantic to the Pacific across the southern United States, this is a heavily traveled corridor. Well, Bob, you got probably the best show in town going on right now.
Yeah, it's fun down here. Now, you just saw the one wrecker leave, and I'm going to go around here. You can't see
run,
me now.
Bob, run.
I'm running.
Bob, we've lost sight of you, but a question, if you can hear me.
I can.
Is there someone down there coordinating this, or is this just a whole bunch of people who get together and they're figuring it out?
Well, there are Houston police coordinating it. Now, if you can see on the mass cam shot, the white truck, the Albertsons truck that they just lifted over the barricade, they're pulling that now and straightening it out. The entire trailer part of it is over the barricade, and it's facing toward downtown now.
Yeah, we can
so
see
that
him
was
moving
the main one that was clogging things up down here, and I hope you guys can still hear me because it's real noisy because I'm standing right next to the
Yes, we can hear you.
heavy-duty wrecker. But now they've got that one straightened out. So you can probably hear the wrecker drivers
We can.
and the police down here talking. This is exciting.
Well, it is, Bobby, and you have to figure that most of these people, including the wrecker drivers, have put in an awful lot of hours just in the past 36, 48, and we know certainly the police officers have.
Oh, they look exhausted. I just talked to one of the police officers. He said he'd been working for quite some time, but at least the good news now is the water has receded. The freeway has dried out. It's not underwater anymore, and they can start to get this mess straightened out, and that's exactly what they're doing right now with the Albertsons truck.
Right.
Now, I'm standing between the wrecker and the Albertsons truck, and if the cable snaps, it's been nice working with you guys.
Now, Bob, for visual reference, from the mast cam here, your mast cam is set up on the outbound side of Interstate 10, right?
Exactly.
And these trucks that they're working with now are on the inbound side.
That's right.
Okay.
They are headed toward the inbound side of I-10.
It's difficult to tell visually because there are trucks on the inbound side that are headed outbound and trucks on the outbound side that are headed inbound.
Right. They're all geschmuddled.
It's a pickup stick sort of game, isn't it?
I don't know if you can see from the mass cam, the Albertsons truck starting to move.
Yeah.
And I'm standing right next to the cab of it right now.
They're pulling cab and trailer all together out of there.
Yeah, they've got the whole thing together.
Now, Bob, earlier in the day, we had a report that there was a Budweiser truck. I don't know if it was in your area, but apparently it got looted.
I don't know if it got looted or not. I see it where I am standing right now. And right now, I am in the cab with the wrecker driver as we're pulling this Albertsons. It's like being at the rodeo parade when you're interviewing people.
No, Bob, it's just like being at one of those big truck competitions that you sports guys go to.
How difficult? What's your name?
Ron.
Ron, how difficult is this job, getting all this straightened out?
It's kind of a mess just trying to figure out which way to go first, with which car, which truck.
Have you ever seen a tangle of trucks as bad as that was back there?
Not quite this bad, no.
Have you ever had to pull one where the trailer is on one side of the barricade and the half of it is on one side and half of it's on the other?
Yeah, we've had a few of those before, so it's not anything real new. But it's unusual for it to float over like it did, like this one did.
Yeah, ask him if being filled up with water has made it any trickier.
Has it being filled up with water, has that made it much more difficult?
No, not too much. I mean, it's not any worse if it had a little small load in it, so it's not making it too bad on us. At least it wasn't loaded when it went over the rail, so.
How long do you think before you get all these untangled?
It's probably going to take several hours. I couldn't even begin to guess. There's so many trucks out here.
Where did they go, Bob?
Where do you take them?
The ones we're picking up, we're taking out to Katy, back to the main yard for the trucking company.
So you're not going to get to bed anytime soon, are you?
Probably not till tomorrow sometime.
Well, good luck. It's the first time I've ever been in a wrecker. Thanks for the ride.
Thank you, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right, Bob.
All right, well, they're getting that straightened out, Shara. It's a slow process, and Dave, but as we said, it has begun. Now, I don't know if you can see this buckled.
Yes, we can. Yeah, we can see it. That's going to be a job.
Yeah, because half of it is up here on the side, and this thing snapped about 5:30, and the roof just flew off of it. So this is going to be, and it's jackknife, so it's going to be a very delicate job getting this thing off of here.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Okay.
We're in the midst, and we'll keep you updated.
All right, Bob. We'll check back with you shortly and see how the recovery operation is going there.
Bob, that was a very good play-by-play.
Really was.
Give him credit.
It's different than sports.
Yes, it is.
Right. From the American Red Cross, we have Paul Regali on the phone. Paul, are you still with us?
Sure.
Okay, how are things going with the Red Cross now?
It's going smooth over here.
Oh, good. Now, you're at the headquarters?
We have a shelter open here in the Woodlands McCullough campus.
That's where you are?
Yeah.
Okay, give us an idea of the situation up there in the Woodlands area.
Well, we had about 50 people sheltered last night, and about 3 hours ago, Greenspoint police said that they had about 130 people that needed to be taken care of, and Metro brought them over here, so we've taken care of them as far as food, and we have plenty of food over here, blankets, cots, shower facilities, just everything that they need. We have registered nurses here to take care. We've had a couple of diabetics that needed attention. So everything is being met over here.
All right, so you're not in need right now, or immediate need at your location for baby food, blankets, and some of the calls that we've heard coming out from others.
We've had a tremendous outpouring from the local individuals here that's been very generous, that have brought over disposable diapers, baby food, things like that, so blankets and pillows. So we're in pretty good shape.
That's
and we've had a great deal of help from the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and we've had several churches here helping to serve meals and taking care of the food. We're not going to have any problem with breakfast or lunch or dinner for tomorrow. We've got all that lined out, and we had a lot of businesses donate food, so we're in pretty good shape here.
Well, we're glad to hear that. Paul Regali with the American Red Cross up in the Woodlands area. Thank you for the information, Paul.
Okay.
Let's go back over to David Tillman in the Weather Center now, and following David's report, starting around 10 o'clock, we're going to give you what will be close to a newscast here. David, what's the latest on the radar?
Well, the latest is that storm system over Galveston Bay is not let up at all. Let's go right to the live Super Doppler 13. It shows that band of showers moving to the west and northwest at about 15 miles per hour or so. The southern end of it is about to move into the town of Galveston right now. Texas City, you're right on the edge of it, but you're about to see some very heavy rain. San Leon, you just saw some heavy rain, and NASA, as forecasted, is about to get the rain as well. Should be there within the next few minutes. So that heavy cell continues moving west. Our tornado hunter display shows that is the heaviest activity in the area at this time. The other heavy rain producing line is beginning to move to the east into the Gulf of Mexico on our tornado hunter display. And the rest of that activity that you see there is basically light precipitation. So we have flash flood warnings in effect for southern Harris County and for Galveston counties until 12 midnight. Eyewitness News at 10 starts now.
Okay, thank you, David.
Our top story in Eyewitness News tonight, it was just a tropical storm, but Houstonians will be talking about it in the same breath with Hurricane Alicia and the floods of 1994. Today, for many, was a day to clean up, assess the damage, and most importantly, dry out.
It's still a very troubling and very dangerous situation in our area.
Our short-term interest right now is making sure we don't lose any lives.
And good evening, friends. I'm Dave Ward.
And I'm Shara Fryer. This is a special edition of Eyewitness News, part of our continuing coverage of this natural disaster spawned by Tropical Storm Allison. The storm has claimed at least 3 lives and perhaps as many as 7. In one of the cases, a woman became trapped in an elevator in the Bank of America building downtown. It's believed that elevator lost power, went into the basement, and became flooded.
The National Guard is deployed. Troops are rolling into the Houston area as a result of an order by Governor Perry, who joined President Bush in declaring this region a disaster area. We'll have a live report on the National Guard deployment coming up in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, the Texas Medical Center is slowly trying to get back to normal after an unprecedented flood that knocked out power to many of our city's world-class hospitals. And, of course, we are keeping a close eye on the radar. A look now at our live Super Doppler 13. We'll be checking in with meteorologist David Tillman in just a few moments. As you can see, the rains that we have been looking at now down around NASA, San Leon, Texas City area headed into the Friendswood area.
And if you've been with us, you know that we are receiving conflicting numbers on the number of fatalities from this storm. The Office of the Medical Examiner says that 3 deaths are confirmed. However, the Houston Police Department says there may be as many as 7. Right now, all of the deaths are under investigation. They range from drownings to a situation at a downtown office building that I just mentioned. The report that an elevator lost power, became caught in high water in the basement as a 42-year-old woman inside was trying to go into the basement for her automobile. That elevator reportedly trapped the woman in the high water and she drowned. In the midst of all the destruction caused by this flood of a lifetime, we have seen an amazing number of success stories.
Eyewitness News reporter Nydia Hahn standing by live now with a look at some of these dramatic stories of rescues. Nydia.
Good evening, Dave and Shara. We are on Van Hut. This area has actually been turned into a loading dock and a meeting point for rescue missions. It is a desperate situation out here. There are still about 100 people trapped in their homes in the neighborhood behind me. But earlier today, there were, as you said, some success stories.
Well, we got both their bags.
This is the first time Josie Shaw has seen dry land since yesterday.
I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm cold.
Like many other people in her neighborhood, she's been trapped for 24 hours.
My bones are fragile, they break, but I have been without medication all day because they was packed and scattered, so we weren't able to get to it.
The rescue mission started early this morning. Navigating through the high water hasn't been easy, and the devastation is taking an emotional toll.
It's hard to look at people's lives being shattered, you know, by this kind of stuff.
But when there are people like Rusty Hudnall to save, emotions take a back seat.
Take your time. Take your time.
Rusty is a 66-year-old heart patient who was trapped in his home.
Oh, Lord, yeah. I spent the night on a little 2-foot shelf, just holding on.
The Texas Game Wardens rescued Rusty from his mobile home, now a total loss.
Oh, in the house, up to my windows. Outside, it's up to my chin.
And there's no insignificant victim in this disaster. As night falls, rescues are becoming more and more difficult, but as you can see, people are not giving up.
How you doing? Good.
Earl Cooper just got rescued. He was trapped in his truck overnight.
And I was wanting to get out of there bad. Thank goodness I got out. And thank every one of these people that are out here right now in these boats and doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're great people.
We have heard that time and time again. People are so appreciative of all the volunteers. Unfortunately, though, the saga here continues. The volunteers are still here. They still need more, and we will stay posted at this location to keep you updated. Reporting live, I'm Nydia Hahn, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Nydia. We have learned now that Governor Rick Perry's scheduled visit to the Houston area to assess the flood damage has now been indefinitely postponed. The governor was supposed to fly over all the damaged area in a National Guard helicopter, but they're saying those choppers are still needed for search and rescue operations. Also, the threat of more rain will delay the governor's visit. Governor Perry and President Bush have declared 28 counties in our southeast Texas area disaster areas, including Harris, Brazoria, Chambers, Fort Bend, Galveston, Jefferson, Liberty, and Montgomery County.
What we're looking at right now, keeping an eye on the weather with one eye, but the other is making sure we don't have any citizens that get into situations where their lives are in peril. You know, it's bad enough to lose your property, but the lives are what we're most interested in right now.
The president's declaration will allow residents in affected areas to get housing assistance and low-cost loans.
At this point, more than 3,000 people have found dry places to rest at the shelters that have been set up all across this area. Here are the locations of some of them. New Caney Middle School, Willis First Baptist Church, Second Baptist Church in Jacinto City, McCullough Junior High in the Woodlands, St. Maximilian Colby in Northwest Houston, Tomball Police Department, Magnolia Baptist Church, St. Anthony's Catholic Church in the Woodlands, and Living Faith Church in Conroe. Pasadena, Cherry Brook Lane, 2732, the Salvation Army Community Center in Northeast Houston on Irvington, Salvation Army Center Avenue E in Conroe, Harbor Lights, this is for men only, in downtown Houston.
In addition to the shelters, in addition to those shelters, the Red Cross has established several service centers to provide some of the basics for the storm victims. In Pasadena, relief will be available at Jackson Intermediate School on East Thomas Street. In Friendswood, go to the Friendswood Activity Center on Morningside. And in Southeast Houston, the Red Cross is at the Sunnyside Multi-Service Center on Wilmington near Cullen. Those service centers will be open from 9 until 6 daily until this crisis is over. The Red Cross volunteers have been pulling down double duty since the aftermath of Tropical Storm Allison first swept through southeast Texas on Tuesday.
And it doesn't seem exhaustion has slowed them down one bit. Joining us live by the telephone now is Donna Rubisky. We've been talking a lot about rescues tonight, Ms. Rubisky. Your shelters are often the goal for these rescue operations.
Yes, they are. And we have 29 Red Cross shelters that are open tonight. And in our shelters alone, there are more than 3,000 people. We've got shelters open in Montgomery County, Harris County, Brazoria County, Nacogdoches, Jefferson County, Polk County. 28 counties altogether have been affected by this disaster.
Have you been hearing some of the stories from the folks who've been brought in of what conditions have been like in their neighborhoods and just what's happened? I mean, we're looking at some video right now taken earlier today of people being plucked to safety by helicopter.
Yes, ma'am. We've been monitoring the news right along with you, and of course we get people who come by the office and say, here's what happened to me. We were actually sheltering people last night here at our headquarters. And over the email today, we've gotten requests for people to, where are my family? Where else should I go? Help me get in touch with my cousins. So we're hearing a lot of the same stories you're hearing.
How are the children handling it so far as you know?
I have no firsthand knowledge because I have not been to the shelters.
All right.
Well, we thank you for your information, though. Donna Rubisky with the American Red Cross.
We weren't able to get all of those locations up on the screen for you, but we do know that as the need has arisen, they keep opening up more shelters. And, of course, we still may have that problem and that need later on tonight. We've been watching the radar picture throughout this day, and there is some cause for concern still.
Go to meteorologist David Tillman now and find out what the latest is. David?
Yes, we've been expecting most of the heavy rain for tonight to be over the coastal counties, and that has been what has been happening throughout the evening. Most of that heavy rain has stayed down there. Let's go to live Super Doppler 13. There is some light rain throughout parts of Harris County and even to the east into Liberty County. That activity is pushing slowly to the south and west, and it is on the light side. But again, the heaviest of rainfall is to the south over parts of Galveston County and extreme southern parts of Harris County, and it's moving to the west and northwest. Very heavy cell right along Interstate 45 just to the west of NASA and Friendswood. And it's moving to the west-northwest at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. We can put a lapse on it so we can show you how the activity has progressed from across the Galveston Bay right on shore, and it does not appear to be letting up. As a matter of fact, this particular portion of it just north of Texas City is beginning to intensify just a little bit. Let me show you that one more time as it lapses and it's moving in that west-northwesterly direction. Now, the only good news with this particular line of thunderstorms, even though it is producing heavy rain, this is not a training thunderstorm. This thunderstorm is somewhat slender, and it's going to take about 30 to 45 minutes or so to push through as it moves in this particular direction like that. Now, if the storm was like this and it was moving in this direction, then there would be a problem because that a line like this will take much longer to cross you, and in that period of time, probably 2 or 3 hours, it would drop a tremendous amount of rain. But in any event, even an inch of rain is quite a bit when you consider that this particular area is saturated, the ground is saturated. Any more rain, even if it's only an inch, will cause some flash flooding problems. You recall Friends would saw up to 12 to 13 inches of rain the first day the storm hit. So this is an area with saturated ground. You're about to see some strong thunderstorms move through your particular area over the next couple of hours. Let's go to our maps right now. Galveston County and Southern Harris County is under a flash flood warning. That warning goes until 12 o'clock p.m. tonight. All of southeastern Texas is under a flash flood watch, but the main areas that I think that will see the really heavy rain will be our Gulf coastal counties. Low tides today will occur at 1:18 in the morning. High tide coming back at 10:13, so let's hope that most of the water is gone by then. Temperatures are basically in the 70s at this time and should remain so overnight. Here's the 5-day forecast. Lows in the 70s for the next 5 days. Highs making it back into the 90s by Tuesday. And there's still a decent chance for those scattered thunderstorms for tomorrow with the heavy rain along the coast. That low pressure in the Gulf of Mexico could become a tropical storm over the next 24 hours. We'll keep an eye on it.
All right. Thank you, David. The governor activated the National Guard yesterday, and some of that military muscle has moved into this area to help out.
Eyewitness News reporter Jessica Willie standing by live in West Houston, where the troops are gathering. Jessica?
Well, Dave and Cher, we are at the Westheimer Armory for the National Guard. Like I said, we've been around at command posts all across town, including this one here where the National Guard has come in. About 81 soldiers have been in and out. But earlier today, we were at the state command post over at Tully Stadium in Northwest Houston. Let's listen to what Captain Anthony Tortorese had to say about the operation there.
This is the command post set up to coordinate all the state resources coming in to assist the Houston Fire Department in the water evacuation and rescue effort.
So what exactly does that mean for the folks out there watching? What exactly is going on here?
Well, what exactly is happening is that Houston Fire Department's water evacuation resources have been stretched to the limit, and they've called out to the state DEM for assistance, and we're bringing in those resources and coordinating the evacuation effort through our dispatch and the Office of Emergency Management.
So the folks who are coming from across the state, they come here.
They come here.
They come here and then basically just wait to go.
Right. We're in contact with Houston Fire Department Dispatch Center and the Office of Emergency Management. They give us the assignments. We write up the assignments here and send the crews out.
So it's kind of interesting to see how they actually coordinate hundreds of people who are here in a rescue effort. Some of those folks, of course, the National Guard. Joining me now is First Lieutenant Scott Olson. And tell me, how many soldiers do you have on their way to Houston or already here?
Well, we've currently got 81 soldiers at this facility. We've got authorization to activate up to 240, depending upon the situation and how many are actually needed.
And what is their mission?
Our main mission is for the evacuation of those in a critical situation.
Now, I understand that you can also act as backup for the fire stations. Is that correct? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, there's for personnel and equipment that we've got available through the National Guard, through the military, that other civilian agencies don't have, or we can certainly back up the other civil agencies that are out there.
And you don't only have personnel here, you also have equipment. Tell me a little bit about the equipment effort in town right now.
Right, most of the equipment that's here, we concentrated on cargo vehicles. We've got, there's one of our 5 tons now. We've got many, like about 23 5 tons in the area, about 10 2.5-ton trucks, and several other cargo assets, as well as 5 Blackhawks and a Chinook helicopter that are in the area to support this operation.
I appreciate it. First Lieutenant Scott Olson, he's here as part of the effort, the National Guard efforts. 81 soldiers in town right now. They are ready to mobilize up to 240 if needed. Reporting live, Jessica Willie, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Alicia Dixon with HL&P on the line with us again with some updated power outage numbers. Alicia?
That's correct. We're down to just over 11,000 customers without service. And the good news is we're getting them back on. Some unfortunate news is the ones that we haven't gotten back on yet are in areas that we just cannot reach at this time. And now that night has fallen, it's even more difficult. We don't want our crews to be out, risking danger to themselves when they can't really see where the water is. So probably the majority are going to be back on in the morning.
Are you fully staffed tomorrow morning and ready to go when you can?
We are. We have skeleton crews tonight to troubleshoot and handle any emergency situations, but our crews will be back in full force at 7 a.m. And basically it's just, to give them a break and some relief. They've been working for hours, and we don't want to risk anybody's safety.
Very, very good. Alicia Dixon with HL&P. Thank you for those updated numbers.
Rescue teams have had their hands full north of Houston today. They're sending thousands of stranded people to nearby shelters.
And tonight, people in Spring Creek seeking higher ground because of the water there. Eyewitness News reporter Tom Abrams standing by live in Timber Ridge near the Woodlands with more on that. Tom?
I'm standing in a driveway, Dave and Shara, at Glenlock and Gary. This is one of those areas that was really badly flooded earlier. I'm going to turn my back on you for a second and show you something really interesting here. Now the water has receded, but at the height, this dark line right here is where the water was. I'm 6'2", and this is right at the top of my head, so 6 feet in this house is where the water went. You notice the garage door is open. That's because the owners just came home a couple of minutes ago. They're surveying the damage for the first time. While the area goes down here, while the water rather goes down in this area, just a couple of blocks up and about a half-mile in, the water is still rising.
We have no idea what's going to happen. I'm shaking so bad.
The worst is yet to come for Tracy Cortez and her family. The creek behind her home is inching closer and rising fast.
The problem with this here is we don't know exactly how much water's coming in. We don't know when it's going to peak. It's not knowing, and it just continues to rise and rise.
Their home does back up to Spring Creek, but guess what? This isn't the creek. This is normally their backyard. The creek is a half-mile in that direction. But runoff from Lake Conroe and Tomball is draining here. So inside Tracy's home, she's propped up what she could and plans to take valuables with her. She's ready to evacuate now. Watching the creek close in is getting tough for her family.
We've been waiting all day. It's been inching and inching. Like every hour it's been getting closer and closer.
Tracy says she's prayed a lot, but knows.
We figure it's just something else that we have to get through.
There is very little else she can do to stop what seems inevitable. And that family expects within the next 24 hours their house is going to be underwater. So many of the people in this area, dozens of them, along with 200 people from the Greenspoint area, are just about 2 miles up the road here at a shelter at the McCullough campus of the Woodlands High School. That shelter has been open ever since the water started rising here. It's providing food, clothing, and a dry place to stay for so many people who need it. Now, that Red Cross shelter is going to be open as long as the people need it to be open. Again, earlier this evening, they had to bus more than 200 people from the Greenspoint area up there, and you'll hear some of their stories coming up later in this newscast. For now, reporting live in Timber Ridge in South Montgomery County, Tom Abrams, 13 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Tom. As our coverage continues of the devastation from this storm, I want to remind you, the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals will be seen beginning tonight at 11 o'clock. You'll get to see the whole Stanley Cup Final, the 7th game, the final and deciding game, and that will start at 11 p.m. This devastation continued southwest into Jersey Village in Harris County and at the White Oak Bayou and Farm Road. High waters covered crosswalks and reached halfway up the poles to the traffic lights. Once the water receded, folks at a nearby subdivision on Lakeview were finally able to assess the damage there.
So we got about 3 feet water in the house, probably about 4 foot in the garage. Tore out the fence, you know, the usual things that water does.
Adding to the devastation, concerns about gasoline and oil, possibly from lawnmowers and swamped cars that had mixed in with the floodwaters.
And not only homes susceptible to the flood, several businesses are ringing out tonight, such as the Quarter Price Bookstore in the corner of Lexington and Shepherd downtown. It may be called Quarter Price Books, but it was a third of the books that actually floated away. Hours of rain overflowed into the shop, ruining hundreds of books that were thrown in piles in front of the store. The few that could be saved were just stacked to the side.
Hospital workers around the area bailing out water, trucking in fresh water, and generators keep their buildings up and running.
Eyewitness News reporter Chris Adams has the very latest.
This is the scene tonight here in the medical center. All up and down Fannin Street, huge trucks carrying huge pumps are doing that, trying to remove thousands and thousands of gallons of water, which have crippled this area. And so, one of the finest medical centers in the world was badly in need of help itself. The water just kept pouring in. Various facilities lost power or suffered damage. Among the hospital's hardest hit, however, is Memorial Hermann.
Lost power at 1:40 this morning when the bayou crested and came up and spilled water over into our basement area, into our generators and our switching gear.
From there, things only got worse. tonight, Memorial Hermann has no safe drinking water and no telephone service. As the situation deteriorated, the hospital began transferring patients to other facilities. Roughly half the hospital's patients have been transported so far.
We've transferred by helicopter and by ground service about 200 patients so far, about 120 or so adults and about 80 babies and pediatric patients. Most of those patients went to community hospitals.
Some patients, however, were taken as far away as Galveston or even Austin. All surgery at Memorial Hermann has been halted and will be for some time to come. Administrators will have to wait until this mess in the basement is dried out before they'll know when things will get back to normal.
We don't have plans to evacuate all patients out of the hospital, although we're going to continue evacuating patients or transferring patients as long as our situation is the same.
The problems here at Memorial Hermann are being felt to one degree or another throughout the medical center.
Because of all the water on the streets here, the medical center is extremely difficult to drive through and should best be avoided. Chris Adams, 13 Eyewitness News.
One trouble spot tonight has been up in Liberty County.
A release of water from the Lake Livingston Dam playing a role in all of that. Joining us live by the telephone now is Leroy Hannell. He's with the Liberty County Office of Emergency Management. What are you warning all the folks who are downstream to do tonight?
Good evening. We're going to continue to monitor the Trinity River and along with the rest of the people.
All right, now we know that because of the release of this water, you know that certain low-lying areas will flood, correct?
Certainly. They certainly will.
Are you recommending that those people evacuate, sir?
Yes, we are. Even though the rain looks like it may be going away, for precaution reasons, I think they should still evacuate.
Well, the water that you're releasing from Lake Livingston is going to flood the area.
Certainly. But what I'm talking about in case of extra rain, but they should go ahead and evacuate anyway.
So even folks not in low-lying areas, you're saying perhaps should take the precaution and go ahead and get themselves ready to go?
Certainly, certainly.
All
right, now you're expecting all this water to hit downstream tomorrow afternoon?
Possibly. That's what we're forecasting, unless there's, like I say, more rain above, which evidently, hopefully, right now there's not going to be. And if it stays the way it is, it would be basically tomorrow afternoon.
All right, 3 shelters set up, ready to roll when folks do evacuate. Romeyer Baptist Church, First Baptist Church of Dayton, and I don't know North Main Baptist Church in Liberty.
Right. And also we did close Highway 1725 and 105 right north of Cleveland due to the San Jacinto River, which we're also monitoring.
All right, so the San Jacinto River high there, and you closed those 2 roads.
Right, and we do have some water over 105 between Moss Hill and the Batson area for anyone just trying to travel that direction.
All right, so folks stay home and start getting your stuff together so you can get out while the getting's good.
Yes, that would be best.
All right, Mr. Leroy Hannell of Liberty Emergency Management, thank you.
Well, Galveston apparently has dodged the bullet this time around.
At least so far today. Most of the region was spared the brunt of the severe storms, but residents there are not in the clear just yet. We're checking in now with Eyewitness News reporter Jeff Ealing, who is live in Galveston. Jeff?
Sherry, you said it. The residents here are not in the clear just yet. Allison's wind and rain are back over the city of Galveston and Galveston Island right now. But the main cause of concern is the center of low pressure that's situated just off the coast in the Gulf of Mexico. If that develops into something stronger, we could get a lot more rain and a lot more flooding.
We're going to monitor those showers very closely because as what's happened over the past 2 evenings, those showers expanded and we really had some torrential rains overnight.
For that reason, the City of Galveston's Emergency Operations Center will remain open all night long. The hope is that Allison will just fade away, but Galveston officials are leery of this storm.
This has been probably the most unusual storm that anybody's ever seen. It doesn't take a hurricane to flood people out, and this one was so unusual. You went all the way up to Lufkin, I believe, and then it's come all the way back down, and then tomorrow it might have an opportunity, or even tonight, might have an opportunity of redeveloping.
Now, officials here say they have dodged a bullet thus far. There have been some street flooding, and there have been some businesses and homes that have flooded, but for the most part, Galveston Island was spared the wrath of the storm, especially when you compare it to some of the other areas throughout our coverage area. However, city officials aren't able to take a break right now. The Emergency Management Center is going to stay open, as we said, and officials say they're not at this point recommending that anybody evacuate or seek higher ground at this point, but they are telling people who live on Galveston Island to pay particular attention to news reports. And if that center of low pressure develops into something stronger, it could happen within just a few hours, and that could produce some very heavy torrential rains centered right here over Galveston. So for that reason, city officials are telling people to watch what we're telling them as far as the storm goes. Reporting live on Galveston Island, Jeff Ealing, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. And let's check back in now with meteorologist David Tillman.
Yeah, David, show us why the folks in Galveston need to be concerned.
Well, that line of thunderstorms, as expected, is moving right over Galveston Island and the county of Galveston at this time, right off of Galveston Bay. Let's go to Live Super Doppler 13. Let me read a brand new statement from the National Weather Service. Flash flood warning continues for Galveston and Harris counties until midnight. Expect heavy rain to once again affect the Clear Creek watershed. The Clear Creek gauge at FM 528 was at 20.1 feet and was falling slowly at present. However, flood stage is at 12 feet, so that particular creek is 8.1 feet above flood stage. It could begin to rise again as heavy rain moves west-northwest over the basin, and the heavy rain they are talking about is this particular band of thunderstorm activity, which you just saw in the live shot with Jeff Ealing, is right over Galveston at this time, and that is moving right over Galveston County. It's moving to the west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour. There is Alvin right there. Fringewood, you're going to be right on the very northern edge of this band of heavy rain, and it looks like the heaviest cell is going to be headed right towards the town of Alvin within the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. So heavy rain across parts of Galveston County. That has prompted flash flood warnings for that particular area. We can take a quick look at rainfall rates over the last hour, and we can lay down some numbers for you here just as soon as the loop stops. There we go. Right there. Right west of Interstate 45, 2 inches of rain has fallen within the last hour. 1 inch right there just in Galveston, in the Gulf of Mexico, an inch of rain, and half an inch of rain very near Galveston. So this particular system has dropped anywhere from a half an inch to 2 inches of rain within the last hour, and as that band continues moving to the west, it will probably aggravate some more flash flooding across parts of Galveston County. Very dangerous situation this evening. Heed those flash flood warnings. That's your forecast.
All right, David, thank you. We do want to pass on again this programming note that our plan right now is to conclude this special edition of Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock, and at that time we will bring you the 7th game of the Stanley Cup Finals in its entirety. It's a tape-delayed basis.
That'll be followed by last night's 2020 program, which was partially preempted by our weather coverage. We had to do that last night, and you should know this. When we go to the hockey game at 11 o'clock, that does not mean we're all going home. If the weather situation worsens, we will be right back on the air, and we most certainly will let you know about it.
Yeah, things unfolding even as we sit here. The progression of events on the Katy Freeway inside the loop has been amazing this evening.
Well, last night and throughout today, we saw those huge big rigs swamped in the area of the freeway and Shepherd inside the loop. Iowa Sports Director Bob Allen is on flood duty there, and Bob, that water quickly disappeared, did it not?
Yeah, the freeway is totally dry right now, Dave. Well, not dry, it's still damp, but there is no standing water where we are. We are on I-10 outbound between Shepherd and Washington. Now, when we left you about 45 minutes ago or so, they were untangling this mess of trucks out here, trying to get one of them done. Now, if you can see the red night truck, they've got a heavy-duty wrecker, that orange wrecker, same wrecker that we were talking to before. The red truck is jackknifed, and what they're going to try to do is straighten it out. And then the blue truck, the Moody Blues truck that it's backing up into, they're going to try to move that out. So the first point is to straighten out the red truck, the night truck, and they just moved me out of the way, so I can't get down there. But that's what they're waiting to do right now, is straighten up these trucks. But most of the cars here have already been moved out in this particular area. And once they get this truck out of the way, there's just a couple of others that they're going to have to move. And we told you about that jackknifed truck, the truck that buckled right down there, the white truck. But we were hoping that they would do this sooner. They're getting the chains hooked up on the front of the red night truck. It's got the white trailer and the red tractor, And what they're going to do is start pulling that forward, and maybe I can sneak down there. I can do that until they kick me out. And I'll try to stay out of harm's way, but try to see exactly what the plan is down here. And we're down here next to the orange wrecker, and there's no one in it at the moment, but they've got the chain on here, and their officer is talking to one of the wrecker drivers. How soon before they move this one?
Which one?
The night truck, this one that's jackknifed right here.
It's a good question. We got several of the heavy-duty wreckers lined up, and some of these have called their own company associated, heavy-duty wrecker. So we're trying to get all that ironed out or whatever, but we're trying to get it get this whole area cleared off as quick as we can here.
You guys are doing a great job. Have you ever seen a bigger mess than this?
No, sir.
How long have you been working?
Well, I just came on duty about a half an hour ago.
Your officer?
Sergeant C.B. Mosley.
Sergeant Mosley, good luck. Thank you, sir. Okay, so they're apparently going to start this in just a few minutes. They're tightening up the chains on the truck, and we thought it was going to be done sooner, but as we said earlier, it is a start, and they are getting it done, and we'll be back to you later.
Okay.
All right, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
We've
There's
really
a lot of
enjoyed
work
that
out
with
there.
Bob out there. Hundreds of people in New Caney are spending this night in shelters and also wondering when they'll get the go-ahead to go back home.
Well, let's get the latest on that from Eyewitness Sports anchor Tim Melton, who has been pressed into service as a news reporter, who is live now in Timber Ridge. Tim?
Yes, we're back in the same spots, same location as Tom Abrams, Timber Ridge, Timber Lakes, right on the border of the Woodlands. Earlier this evening, we're up in New Caney, where the Caney Creek has a habit of coming out of its banks, but as we have heard all day long, this storm is different. Driving east or west along 1485 in New Caney is impossible, so the best way to get around is the old-fashioned way.
Creek started coming up. I stayed here at 5:30 this morning. I came back in at about 6:30, and between 5:30 and 6:30, we had a foot of water in the shop.
Bill Gould has been watching his race shop for two reasons. Number one, he has already seen some looters hit the Exxon station next door.
They broke into the front door, and it's real apparent. You drive down, you can see it.
And more importantly, his life is wrapped up in his shop.
UFO race car is probably out of business right now. We've lost everything. We're done. I tried to get flood insurance. I've got every other kind of insurance, but it's not going to cover this.
What do you do now?
Punt. Cry a lot maybe. Yeah, this was a lifelong dream here, and there it is. It's in the water.
We've had several rescues today, beginning about 9:30, 10 o'clock this morning.
New Caney Fire Chief Bob Yancey has seen this stuff before.
The most dangerous situation we had today was in Tanglewood. The water is faster than it was in 94, and so we had to really watch that very closely. We had some good boats and good personnel.
And for those whose homes were underwater or in danger, there seemed to be two things you could do.
There we go.
Grin and go with it or seek shelter at the New Caney Middle School.
Are there any needs that you have?
Blankets, lots of blankets. So that's mainly what it is, and we're figuring what we're going to do for breakfast.
And right now, breakfast has to seem an awful long way away for those folks who are having to go through the mess up in the New Caney area and the overflow around 1485 of Caney Creek. There is a light mist beginning to fall here at Timber Lakes, Timber Ridge, and that only begins to accentuate the problems. We said the people up in New Caney thought that for the most part it was worse in this time than in 94, and the people here in this area say worse this year than in 94. It's not the kind of thing you like to hear, but they're trying their best to get through it. Live in South Montgomery County, Tim Melton, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Tim. On days like yesterday and today, the heroes always show up. We have witnessed one dramatic rescue after another in this flood of a lifetime, and we met a few good Samaritans, like these guys, with an incredible story. When the two wrecker drivers spotted a man stuck in high water, their only thought was to save him.
Well, when we first saw the gentleman, he was on top of his pickup, and the water was up to his ankles, and by the time we were able to reach him with a rescue line, the water was coming up over his waist.
They say that man couldn't swim and he'd panicked. Fortunately for him, Sergeant William Kendall with the Texas Army National Guard was passing by. Kendall saw what was going on, went in after the stranded man. The wrecker drivers pulled the two to safety, and when we asked them why would they risk their lives for a stranger?
You gotta do what you gotta do. Somebody had to step up to the plate.
Oh boy, is that ever wonderful. It has been a little tougher than normal today to get out of Houston by air. We're taking a look now at Intercontinental Airport if we can from our CamNet system. Perhaps we don't have it lined up. I guess not. There it is. Continental Airlines canceled its domestic flights out of Houston today. It affected about 1,000 flights overall.
Joining us by the telephone now, Terry Norris from Atlas 24-Hour Travel. Terry, other airlines also canceled flights today. What does tomorrow look like? What do you know?
Tomorrow, right now, it looks like everything is basically sold out from the flights that were canceled today. I've been looking at Sunday as well, and it's really not looking a whole lot better.
Okay.
Most flight schedules will resume tomorrow. Is that what you're telling us?
Right now, they are showing that it looks like they will be resuming. However, most of the flights are sold out from passengers whose flights were canceled today that have been protected on flights for tomorrow and even the following day. So.
Okay. So if you want to fly out of here anytime soon, you better check with the airlines, right?
Right.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And if you want to check on road conditions on state highways, you can always call the number that we say was supposed to be on the bottom of your screen. I guess we're not going to get this number. Are we supposed to do this now? If you're playing, let's go with the script then that they are...
there it is on the screen, Dave. 1-800-452-9292. That is state highway conditions. Yes. 1-800-452-9292. Also, you can log on to our website, abc13.com, and take a look at any of the TransStar jam cams that are all across the Houston area that we have access to. So if you have access to a computer, why don't you access us, and we will try to make your travel plans a little bit easier for you.
All right. We're going with a script in the teleprompter, and I'm going to tell you, I'm reading this cold, folks. I have not seen this, and I do not have a copy of this script in front of me, but let's take a shot at it. It says, if you are planning on being out and about tomorrow, you'll want to watch this report. Teresa Rodriguez reports on some important road closures and some roads that you might want to stay away from.
There is a long list, and there's no real way to touch on all of the problem areas, but here are some of the highlights according to Metro Traffic. Downtown, the I-45 Pierce Elevated is closed at Dallas. Highway 288 is closed in both directions from I-45 to Highway 59. The Loop is a mess. The North Loop is closed at Hirsch, at Lockwood, and at Homestead. And 610 East Loop is closed between Wallaceville and Market. And now the Beltway. On the north side, it's closed at 59 East Tex Freeway, and the feeder roads are closed at I-45 North Freeway. The East Sam Houston Tollway is closed north of Highway 90. Some more problems in North Houston and Harris County. I-45 North Freeway is closed in both directions at North Main, and the southbound lanes are closed at FM 1960. The southbound lanes of the Hardy Toll Road are closed at the Beltway. The 59 East Tex Freeway's inbound lanes are closed at Kelly, and the feeder lanes are closed from Hopper to Tidwell. On the northwest side, the Highway 249 feeder is closed at the Willowbrook area. Now to the west part of the area, the 59 Southwest Freeway is closed between Shepherd and downtown. The Katy Freeway is closed in both directions between the West Loop and I-45. And you'll find problems along Highway 290 feeder road at various intersections, though you should be able to use the Hempstead Highway as an alternative. Now to the south side. I-45 Gulf Freeway feeders are closed from Scarsdale to FM 2351, and they're also closed at NASA Road 1 and FM 518. Now on the east part of town, I-10 Baytown East Freeway is closed from the 59 East Tex Freeway to McCarty, and it's also closed from John Ralston to Uvalde. The East Freeway feeder lanes are closed from Wayside to McCarty. And there's one other problem to pass along. Metro has canceled all bus routes today, but plans to resume its normal schedule tomorrow. For more information, you can call Metro's hotline at 713-635-4000. Teresa Rodriguez, 13 Eyewitness News.
All right, you can tell from those roads that there were an awful lot of people who were stranded, both on the roadways and back in some of their neighborhoods. Perhaps one of the most dramatic moments for us, though, here at Eyewitness News was our chance to help a cancer patient get the treatment that he needed. A man was waiting for a life-saving bone marrow transplant operation at MD Anderson Cancer Center, but the donor's bone marrow was stranded at the airport. Our news crew boarded Sky I-13. We rushed to Bush Intercontinental and then flew that bone marrow to the medical center. There was no time to spare. From the time that marrow was donated in Louisiana, doctors only had 24 hours in which to perform the critical operation.
But what I'm holding here is potential for a life-saving operation that will start almost immediately upon our touchdown.
Indeed, doctors at MD Anderson performed the transplant right after it was delivered. Doctors tonight say that patient is resting in good condition. However, they won't know for 2 or 3 weeks if his body will accept this transfusion.
And the rescues didn't end there. Early this morning, the Coast Guard stepped in to save several people in North Houston. 2 men trapped on top of an office building near the West Hardy Toll Road were the first. One and then the other. Each man was plucked from the rooftop and taken over to Bush Intercontinental Airport. Just a little while later, the Coast Guard chopper rescued several people who had crawled to the roof of the La Quinta Inn along Interstate 10, as well as a man seeking safety on top of the Denny's restaurant right next door. All of them were whisked away in the basket to safety.
Boy, it was busy up in those skies today. Joining us by phone right now is Petty Officer Robert Wyman. It's exciting for us to get to watch it. I can't imagine how your crews feel.
Our crews feel like a lot of the other people in Houston tonight, exhausted. We have been going nonstop since about 5:30 this morning, and I can tell you that the 3 helicopters and the crews that we've had here at the air station today have conducted 82 hoisting operations of people off of rooftops and off of vehicle tops throughout the day. We also have 2 small search and rescue boats from our Marine Safety Office in Houston who have also rescued in excess of 100 people up in the I-10 and Market Road areas. So it has been an extraordinarily busy day for the Coast Guard.
We know that they are big numbers for you folks and how hard you've worked, but I can tell you that for each single person who was rescued, multiply that in terms of gratitude that they feel for having been saved that way.
Well, this is a job the Coast Guard takes an immense sense of pride in doing. We're the world's premier maritime service, and obviously the majority of our rescues and what we're known for are offshore rescues. But during this storm, we have not had a single at-ocean rescue for the Coast Guard. They've all been inland, so it's very unique, it's very different, but again, it's a mission that we take great pride in, and we truly enjoy helping out the people of Houston in this difficult time.
Now,
are there more operations underway tonight, Rob, or are you kind of standing down at darkness?
We are starting to stand down our operations. Toward the end of the day today, we shifted over to really trying to focus on assisting the local hospitals in transferring critically ill or people with emergency medical situations from primarily a lot of the cases we were going from Hermann Hospital and transferring people down to UCNB in Galveston. So we really shifted our efforts toward helping critically medically ill patients. But it is nightfall, it's dark out, these are inherently dangerous operations, so we are scaling back tonight. We're not planning on any continued operations throughout the night, unless, of course, it's an emergency search and rescue situation. Right. We are ready to respond to that. But we are planning on kicking it up first thing, 06:30 tomorrow morning. We have 9 crews ready to go with 5 aircraft, another couple of aircraft that are en route from as far away as Florida, and we also have 2 disaster response units who are coming down from Iowa and Kentucky who have small boats that are going to continue and expand our rescue operations in the Houston area.
Very good. Congratulations for a job well done. Petty Officer Rob Wyman with the U.S. Coast Guard, and thank you very much, Rob.
Very impressive indeed, and get some much-needed rest tonight.
Really?
There are several counties in our viewing area.
Well, first, before we get to this, we need to go back to Bob Allen out there on Interstate 10.
I forgot about that. Okay, I
see how they're doing with the The truck rodeo, Bob.
Yeah, the trucks are beginning to become untangled. Behind me, you can see them putting the chains on the big blue truck. But what a mess it was earlier. We'll show you what they did earlier. If we can take a look at the video of the trucks as they were hooking up the heavy-duty wreckers to straighten out the trucks, and what the Albertsons truck especially, half of the trailer was on one side of the barricade in the middle of the freeway, the cement barricade in the middle of the freeway. Half of the trailer was on the other side. And what they had to do as they pulled the tractor of it, they also lifted the rear end of the trailer to lift it over the barricade, because when it flooded, the entire trailer went up, and when it receded, there you see it earlier. That's what it looked like earlier. And then after that flooded, then they had to lift it over the other side. Right now, they are starting to untangle this mess. You see the truck, if we can come back live, the truck behind me is the blue truck. And they've got that up, and they're getting ready to straighten that out. The night transportation truck, here's one of the record drivers. What is the plan right now? What goes next?
As far as I know, they're going to take and try to get all these trucks lined up to get out of here, and then they'll start hauling them out one by one.
So first you get them straightened out.
Try to get them straightened out, and then start hauling them out.
How much longer do you think it'll take to untangle all this?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, several hours, at least till probably early morning.
Good luck. Thank you. So that's the story here on the freeway. We're on I-10 between Washington and Shepherd. The trucks are getting straightened out. The freeway is dried out. Most of the cars are gone, at least from this area that we have been covering. That's it from here, reporting live from I-10. Bob Allen, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Bob. And let's hope that section of I-10 can be reopened in the morning. That is assuming that we don't get more flooding rains and fill it back up with water.
Something we need to keep our close eye on this evening. David Tillman standing by in the Weather Center with all the latest radar and counts. David?
Well, it looks like the heavy rain, as expected, is staying well south of Interstate 10, but there is some heavy rain across parts of Galveston County. Let's go to live Super Doppler 13. Galveston Island, you just saw a very heavy rain cell, and it's still moving across parts of Galveston County at this time. We've been especially concerned about this particular cell because it's dangerously close to the area that saw the devastating flooding just the other day. We can zoom in just a little bit closer here and get a closer look at that particular one. It's been crossing Interstate 45 near League City in Dickinson. Dickinson, that's where the National Weather Service office is. And you can see it pushing to the west-northwest. So in just about another minute or two, Alvin, you are about to see a very heavy rain cell. Now, the good news with this particular system is that if it's moving in this direction like this, most of it should miss the town of Friendswood just to the south. So I think that is a bit of good news. How much rain has fallen from the system in the last hour? Let's take a look at that. In the vicinity of the National Weather Service, right there, about 2.5 inches of rain. So the rain is, that one particular cell is very heavy, dropping rain at the rate of anywhere from 1 to 2, maybe even 2.5 inches of rain per hour. Very heavy thunderstorm cell moving through parts of Galveston County. One other thing we want to keep an eye on, they do have the flash flood warning in effect until midnight for Harris County as well. And let me draw on the county line. There it is right there. And this is going to be Galveston County right here, and this is Harris County right here. So it does appear that most of this heavy thunderstorm cell is going to be missing Harris County to the south. We will keep you updated on any other heavy rain that does develop in the viewing area. Right now, again, flash flood warning does remain in effect until 12 o'clock tonight for Galveston County.
All right, David, thank you very much. We're trying to get our act together over here. We know that throughout the past 36 hours or so, counties all across our viewing area have been experiencing an overload on their 911 emergency lines. And once again, there's continuing to ask that you should use an alternative number unless it is a dire. We're talking about a life-threatening emergency here. So look at these numbers. In Montgomery County, don't try to use 911 at all for the time being. Instead, use one of the numbers you see on your screen. There's quite a few of them there. 936-441-0406 or 0413 or 936-539-5911. Montgomery County EMS is 888-441-6243. In Harris County, if you live within the city limits of Houston, call the Houston Police Department with your problem, 713-222-3131. The Fire Department, 713-247-5000. Outside the city limits in Harris County, call 713-881-3100. In Brazoria County, if it's not a dire emergency, again, try to contact your local police department first. If you cannot make contact there, then call the Sheriff's Department at 979-849-2441.
But, you know, those telephone numbers wouldn't do much good for the thousands of folks across our area without any phone service.
Yeah, just like many other services, Southwestern Bell's feeling the effects of the flooding that's leaving about 100,000 customers now without usable telephones. Joining us live by phone is Missy Cusino with Southwestern Bell. How many people? We said about 100,000 at this hour?
That's right. We still have about 100,000 customers that are still affected. We had 3 central offices that were shut down due to water and flooding. But we have had crews working around the clock since last night, and we're hoping that by early morning we'll have a good majority of those customers back up and running.
All right, now I know that people who were just trying to make long-distance call, who had their normal local service, long distance was really tied up. All the circuits were busy almost all day long.
Well, certainly our network has been taxed, and our circuits have been, our system has been very overloaded with people trying to make calls in and out to loved ones and other family members. So what we're trying to tell people is just be patient, and you know, if you don't need to be on the phone, leave the lines open for security and emergency personnel. But we're hoping that as the water recedes and things dry out, that'll all be restored.
The problem with these 100,000 people, their phones out, is that due primarily to busy circuits, or do you have lines down, or what?
Actually, the 100,000 customers that are without service are directly affected of the 3 central offices that flooded. We had central offices in North, Northwest, and East Houston that experienced flood and water damage. So those customers are affected by that and cannot make calls or receive calls. But again, we're hoping by early morning those customers will be restored.
Are you working all night?
We're working all night. We've been working since last night, 24 hours, and pretty much tapping all the resources that we have, pulling all of our technicians from home to help us restore service to our customers.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Missy Cusino with Southwestern Bell. Flooding here being felt by residents in about 24 other states through their bank accounts. The Pulse ATM network here in Houston flooded, disrupting service to nearly 76,000 ATMs in 22 states, including Texas. Pulse is a nonprofit electronic funds transfer network with more than 2,600 financial institution members. Officials are now trying to transfer operations to Dallas. They say the system here in Houston should be fully up and running by early next week.
Across this area, we're being told now that as many as 6,000 people are packing more than 20 shelters tonight.
In Montgomery County, hundreds of people had to move to distant shelters because the ones close to their homes are over capacity. Eyewitness News reporter Tom Abrams live once more in Timber Ridge with that part of the story. Tom?
Well, this is one of those neighborhoods, Shara, where the water is receding quickly at this point, though. But, you know, I can tell you that these homes are not inhabitable. The people don't have power. They certainly don't have much left of what they own inside their homes. And so many of them have gone to shelters. There was also an emergency evacuation of people a little south of here who've come to the Woodlands for help.
Lost everything. Don't have anything at home.
This bear is the start of a new beginning for Jasmine Diggs.
I had a whole collection of teddy bears, and they all got wet and lost them all.
She and her mother and sister are here with 200 others from Greens Point, evacuated when their apartment and car went under.
It's been rough, but I'm just thank God that me and my 2 kids are safe. That's all I want.
This shelter is not only providing a place for these people to stay dry and to sleep tonight, but also to eat and to get clothes, trying to replace at least some of what they lost. And what is amazing here is the number of young volunteers finding time for people who are lost. 13-year-old Billy Mutel is one of them.
I'm sure that we can make some good of this, and we're trying to do that right now. And I think that we're just trying to do the best that we can to comfort these people and make them feel more at home and welcome.
And so this is a place people will remember for the good it has levied in a time so hard to bear. Again, more than 200 of the people in a shelter up here are from Greens Point. They're obviously helping more people than that. They're going to be open as long as they need to be open. And the good news in all of this is they have basically one volunteer for every 2 people who are staying there. So these people who don't have a place to stay are at least being well taken care of in the meantime. Reporting live from Timber Ridge in South Montgomery County, Tom Abrams, 13 Eyewitness News.
Okay, thank you, Tom. One family was hit by a double tragedy today after being forced out of their mobile home by all the flooding. Their house, that mobile home, then caught on fire. Sky Eye caught these pictures about 6:30 tonight near the East Beltway and Highway 90 in northeast Harris County. Fire crews were unable to reach that burning house because of all the high waters, and the home apparently was a total loss.
There was an accident today that was not weather-related. It happened at the Lyondell-Citgo refinery off Highway 225 on the Pasadena-Houston border. Pictures captured by Sky Eye just before 7 o'clock tonight. One of the employees was performing a routine operation when the coker ignited in a flash fire. 2 other employees injured when they either fell or jumped to safety. That first employee burned. We're not sure just how serious his injuries are. Those employees are recovering tonight at area hospitals.
Eyewitness News reporter Nydia Hahn has been out along Old Highway 90 this evening, and I think you have a story of a rescue, right, Nydia?
David, sure. I've been telling you that it's a long night and it is far from over. If we can go ahead and roll some video. We just got back from yet another rescue mission. If you can see closely, that baby is only 6 months old. Her name is Maria Salamar, and this entire family has been trapped in their apartment since yesterday. They all came off of the boat crying. You can see the firefighter there carrying little Maria. I know that her mother is so glad that she is now safe. Again, only 6 months old. You're looking at raw video, actually, since we literally just jumped off of the fire truck to bring this video to you, and now you're back to me. I'm sorry. It has been a night full of stories like this. We will continue to bring them to you, but we just wanted to bring you that little piece before we went ahead and signed off. Reporting live, I'm Nydia Hahn. Now back to you.
Okay, thank you, Nydia. Glad they got that family out. Let's check in again with meteorologist David Tillman.
With a look for the rest of the night. David?
We have a couple of heavy thunderstorm cells that continue to hold together over parts of Galveston Bay, Galveston Island, and the county of Galveston. Let's zoom right into that particular area, and you can see this very large thunderstorm right here just to the south of Friendswood. Just said a moment ago that Alvin might start to see some heavy rain, and you're seeing it at this time. The storm just hit Texas City not too long ago, and it just went across the town of Galveston as well. Let's put it into motion, and you can see that storm is really holding together, producing rain at a rate from anywhere from 1 inch to maybe even 2.5 inches of rain per hour. That should be enough to begin to cause some problems from flash flooding across these same areas that have seen a lot of heavy rain throughout this week. We can put the total amount of rainfall on the screen for you that has happened since the storm began. And we can also put some numbers down here just to give you an idea about how much rain has fallen. 7 inches of rain to the southwest of Alvin. Near Friendswood, 11 inches there. 10 inches just to the north of Friendswood. Near Galveston, about half an inch. Well, half an inch there. No, that's about 5 inches of rain near Galveston. And then near Texas City, quite a bit of rain as well. So heavy rain, once again, is falling in the Interstate 45 corridor south, and it's moving to the west-northwest. Manville, you are next in line, and right along Highway 288. Here's a look at our flash flood warnings that we have in effect right now. That warning for Galveston Island and southern parts of Harris County goes until midnight tonight. Let's take a quick look at the 5-day forecast. Things will get better